Hello, everybody. Welcome in. My name is Wax Philosophical. I like to wax the philosophical, and it is so freaking hot today. Oh my goodness. It is so hot today. I have the fan on. I hope you can't hear it. Hopefully you don't hear like a buzzing noise in the background of like my audio and shit like that. I did not feel like getting dressed up today, so this is what you get. But we're going to be doing some fun stuff today. We're starting with politics today because I have to charge my mouse first because we're going to be playing a little Mecca Chameleon for the first time ever. So that should be tons of fun. But we're going to start with a little news. It won't go on for too long because I have to leave at 5. I have to leave at 5 o'clock my time. But we're going to do some Boys Cuba trip, Charlie Kirk murder trial, and then I think we have one more story after that. Just a second. And then we have biohacker mogul Brian Johnson it's a funny story. But I mean, it's not really funny for him, but it's funny for everybody else because he literally spends $2 million a year on himself to try to keep himself like at the biological age of like 18. It's just like, dude, not only do you not look 18, like you'll see it. He looks like Data, like the robot Data from like Star Trek. It's super creepy. But he spends like $2 million a year on average to try to keep himself young, and then it turns out that he has an incurable illness, which we'll be covering also. I hope everybody had a wonderful week. I just forgot what day it was, but it's Monday. I hope everybody had a wonderful weekend, excuse me. It is Monday scaries. Does anybody else get the Monday scaries? I don't. I work every day, so it's kind of like I don't really have Mondays. It just kind of is a day on the calendar. But yeah, I had a chill weekend just working and stuff like that. One of my machines is like breaking down, so I have to replace that, so that kind of sucks. But yeah, other than that, not much is going on. It finally got sunny out again, thank goodness. But we're gonna get right into it. We're gonna get into Polly Talks. Excuse me, just a second. All right, we're not gonna start on this one though. We're gonna start on nope. Did I forget to bring it up? There we go. This one. We're going to start with this one, with this story. Just give me a second. All right. We're hopping right into it, like right away. I hope everybody has had a good weekend so far. Like, I had a good weekend. I'm curious to hear what you got up to. I guess I am a little nervous. I don't know what to talk about. Anyway, we're down here now. Hello. Hi, down here. Hi. It is so freaking hot. I shouldn't have worn long sleeves also. That was an L take, but I didn't have any else to wear because I have to do laundry. Anyways, we're going to watch Boys. Can I sneak a boat through a military blockade as they made their way to Cuba? This happened quite some time ago, but the video is just recently released. We talked about a little bit about the flotilla's Cuba trip to Cuba a while ago, but this is a bit of an update from a different perspective that I thought would be interesting, so we're going to check it out. Let me know if you can't hear it. I linked it in the chat, but here we go. Here's Boy.
So I was sailing in the Caribbean recently, and I noticed something really strange happening.
Oh yeah, sorry. Before we get into this, I just watched Hail Mary for the first time. It's a good movie. It is incredibly long. It's almost like, I think it's like 2.5 hours long. It is a long ass movie. And I swear it could have had like 4 freaking endings. Like 4 endings. I swear it could have had 4 endings. And the funniest thing about it is that it reminds me of A Girl with All the Gifts. Like completely different movies, but it has basically the same timeline. And you can fight me on that, but it's honestly really true. And if you want to know why, feel free to ask me, but I'm not going to explain otherwise. I'm just dropping that. Girl with All the Gifts and Hail Mary are essentially the same movie. Okay, let's go.
These fishing boats, they just keep exploding. Look, you can see it here. If you look at the footage from the cameras of America's MQ-9 Reaper drones, you can see it right there. It's really weird. Like 200 fishermen have just spontaneously combusted so far. And what's even
a lot of the people that were on these boats were just quote unquote suspected like drug traffickers. That was the excuse. But it turned out that a lot of these people were actually just innocent human beings. Like, and by the way, why the fuck can you just immolate like drug traffickers? Like, you don't actually do that in the United States, but what, because they're not in the United States' water, it's okay? It like boggles my mind how the US is not like, oh, I guess we're behaving like Maduro, is it? Or whoever it was. There was like this leader, I think he may be in the Philippines, please don't like quote me on this, but he does essentially the same thing. And it's so weird to me how America's like, yeah, it's okay because they're not in our waters yet, so we're gonna blast them to death. And we don't even know if they're actually like drug smugglers. We're just assuming. And it feels like it's just an excuse to kill people, essentially. It feels like the US is just practicing, testing the waters to see what they can do because they don't have the death penalty for drug dealers in their country. But I guess if you're from another country, it's perfectly okay to fucking kill you. Wild.
Weirder is that the US Navy is here too, and they've been intercepting ships in the Caribbean that are trying to bring supplies to Cuba. So obviously I was very confused. So I decided the best way to work out what was going on is to, get on a fishing boat and try to bring 30 tons of humanitarian aid to Cuba.
Evacuate your engine room immediately.
What would evacuating your engine room in that situation do? By the way, I think that clip might have been from like the Iran war, potentially. I'm not 100% sure, but it doesn't really matter because it's basically the same thing, right? Like, ridiculous.
In one shot, blew up the engine room. The ship stopped. It's a very profitable business. Who would have thought we were doing that? We're like pirates. We're sort of like pirates.
So you're probably thinking two things right now, right? Number one is that I'm obviously back at home, filming the intro segment to this video, so I guess I didn't die or I didn't go to prison, but you actually have no idea where I'm filming this video from, do you? Like, I could be doing it from a CIA black site, or maybe I'm filming it from hell, right? Maybe I'm dead, right? You actually have no idea what...
Hopefully not. I find your videos quite enjoyable, so I would really like for you to be surviving. Although I am curious as to where you are, because that was a very good trick. Where are you? Are you in Canada? Hey, come say hi. That'd be cool.
What happens to me in this video? And the second thing you're thinking is, why does the US have a naval blockade of Cuba, and why are they blowing up all these boats? Well, to find out, we need to know what's going on between the US and Cuba and how it all started. So for about 4,000 years, Cuba was home to 2 million people. Then the Europeans came in 1535, and through a very delicate balance of slavery and brand new cutting-edge diseases like smallpox, in just 30 years, the indigenous populations were declared completely extinct. At that point, the Europeans had the same feeling that I had when I ate an entire jar of pickles at 2 a.m. and then didn't have the ingredients left for my sandwich the next day. Without the indigenous slaves, the Europeans would have to do all the work. And they didn't come all the way from Europe to just like pick sugarcane forever, so they imported a brand new kind of slave from a different continent to, replace all the ones that they killed. And they actually kind of look like this, because they look quite different, these ones. Let's see. Asian, white, Asian. Yeah, so the new ones look like this, which is it's pretty good. Anyway, the Europeans fixed that extinction problem, and the system worked pretty well for them for another 300 years, until the Cubans got sick of being slaves on plantations, and I guess the Spanish got bed sores or something from sleeping on piles of bones all day. So the US actually stepped in and helped kick out the Spanish. But the main thing the Cubans got out of it was replacing a handful of Spanish plantation owners with a handful of Cuban and American plantation owners, and all their profits went to US companies instead of the King of Spain. And this is...
Yeah, that's probably how it goes the vast majority of the time. I mean, is there any mega corporation out there that is not just purely evil? Like, really? Like, I would like somebody to name one that not only ensures that everybody from like the starting point of from the ground floor up gets paid an actual living wage, gets appropriate health care and all this other stuff, and like still somehow makes billions of dollars, right? Like, I would be very, very curious to find a company that is actually a megacorp that is actually ethical, because I don't think that there's any out there. I think that they're all pretty freaking evil, including Amazon. But like, Amazon is technically my boss right now because I'm streaming on it, so We live in a dystopia hellscape. We live in a dystopia hellscape. What a shithole planet humans have managed to create. Like, what a shitty fucking system human beings have managed to create for themselves. And like, and when you like counter that, somehow you're the bad guy. You're the bad guy for saying that it's bad to exploit people for their labor, which is so weird because like 60% of Americans who are living paycheck to paycheck are arguably have been exploited for their labor to the point where they are pretty much destitute, right? Like, and the answer of just work harder clearly is not it, because to actually work harder doesn't mean that you're going to earn more pay. You shouldn't have to work 16 hours out of the day just to survive and get like maybe 5 hours of sleep a day. That's absolutely ridiculous. Like, it is unhinged how like disconnected from the anger that Americans and like people across the globe who are working class should fucking feel in regards to the way that companies behave. And not just because of how they're treated, because if you think that you have it bad because you're making minimum fucking wage, just imagine the people who are producing the product for you to sell to other people. Imagine what they're making. Because there's always somebody lower than you on the totem pole, right? And they're always going to be paid less, most likely, right? Like, that's how companies work. There's always, generally speaking, somebody lower than you on the totem pole within a mega corporation. You just might not work beside them. They might work halfway across the world in sweatshops and shit like that, but they're still doing that. And so they're still being exploited, even if you're like, yeah, fam, I'm fucking good. Like, but what about your coworkers here on the other side of the planet that are absolutely being ravaged to death? Like, there's some like sweatshops and shit like that have like suicide nets set up because people are so fucking destitute and upset and like distraught and disenfranchised from their own life for having to work for these companies. It's insane. It's insane. And the solution for some reason is always the cheapest solution for companies, because there are laws that are in place that say that companies legally have to try to earn as much fucking possible money for their investors. There is so much corruption in business. It's insane. Sometimes I genuinely think about becoming homeless because I am just so fucking sick and tired of it. Like, I really do. I'm like, how could I survive in the woods? How could I survive? How long could I survive in the woods? Could I actually do that? How would I do that? I ponder that sometimes, legitimately, just so I can disconnect from the fucking shitty system. But then, if you try to do that, you'll likely get in trouble for living off of, like, land that's not yours and shit like that. So, I don't know. I don't think that will work very well. But I do think about it sometimes, because I'm just honestly so fucking sick of it. But I don't know how else to change it except to argue with you guys about the stupid situations that we find ourselves in and stuff like that. So, I guess I'll keep doing that for as long as I possibly can, and maybe someday I'll be able to help make at least a maybe. We'll see. First this, though, because it's really...
The system continued for the next 60 years, right? The Cuban countryside was a giant US sugarcane plantation. American companies controlled about 70% of the land, and the remainder of it was owned by just the 0.5% of rich Cubans. Illiteracy and malnutrition was through the roof, but in the cities...
That's also similar to how slavery worked in general. It wasn't that everybody in America owned slaves back when the slave trade was a thing. It's just that really, really rich people owned a lot of slaves, like back in the day, right? Like, it wasn't everybody had their own housemaid and stuff like that. No, it was just rich people who had their own slaves and things of that nature, and everybody else was just kind of okay with it for a while until finally the civil rights movement and, you know, the abolishment of slavery and so on and so forth, and all the work over the generations that have taken place to try to enshrine equal rights for people of color and so on and so forth. But I don't know. I lost my train of thought. I'm so sorry. But yeah, that's like how slavery works. It wasn't that everybody had slaves. It's that the top like percentile had a whole bunch of slaves.
They had so much disposable food that they started using their spare grapes and bananas to make hats. And you can see them here dancing with these stupid hats for a bunch of guys with equally stupid names like Lucky, the Bug, Joe Bananas, not to be confused with Joe Diamonds, Joe Batters, Joe Fish, and Fat Joe, who were also there, along with a guy called the Little Man and another guy also called the Little Man. You see, Havana, the capital of Cuba, was known as the Las Vegas of Latin America. And not just because it was the Mecca for gambling and prostitution, but because it was run entirely by the US Mafia. Here's mob kingpin Maya Little Man Lansky hanging out in Havana with the US-backed Cuban dictator Fulgencio Batista. They're getting along really well because Batista let the mob buy up every hotel and casino in the city and pass laws that facilitated their money laundering and their narcotics and human trafficking. And the mob loved him. I mean, not enough to give him a stupid nickname like Bobby Gabagool, but still, they made a crazy amount of money together. And any Cuban who got in the way of this racket was executed by the dictator's secret police. Or, if you're lucky, like Fidel Castro over here, they'll just torture you and then exile you to Mexico. Now, at the time, Batista didn't realize that this was the biggest fumble in history because Castro was about to grow a beard. And with a group of 82 other bearded Cubans and a bunch of guns, he decided to sail back to Cuba from Mexico in a tiny 12-person boat that was called Granma. Which, I mean, look, I don't get it either, but they wanted to liberate Cuba from this corrupt dictatorship. Unfortunately, they were immediately ambushed by Batista's army and only 12 of them survived the landing and they fled to the mountains. Now, in any normal situation, this would be the end.
Obviously, Castro survived, right? Like, no shit.
Of the revolution. But the interesting thing about Batista is that literally every single person hated him. So for the next 3 years, these 12 bearded men became thousands of bearded men and women too. And by 1959, they had defeated Batista, who, fled the country with $424 million he embezzled from his corrupt dictatorship. Fidel Castro became the leader of this new Cuban government, and let me tell you, he got to work immediately. They skyrocketed to 7th in the world in literacy rates, eliminated poverty.
This careful study of the issue came to the conclusion that by 1983, Cuba had eliminated poverty. The two key factors that made this result possible were Cuba's healthy rate of economic growth and its exponential egalitarian distribution.
Bought electricity to the entire countryside and established a system.
Oops, sorry guys, that one was too fast.
And literacy rates, eliminated poverty, brought electricity to the entire.
After taking power, Castro abolished legal discrimination, brought electricity to the countryside, provided for full employment, and advanced the causes of education and healthcare, in part by building new schools and medical facilities.
Countryside and established a system of free, universal healthcare, achieving lower infant mortality.
Cuba has excellent child health as illustrated by its low child mortality rates. Child mortality rates under 5 years, infants, and neonatal in Cuba have all been lower than in the US for many years. And given the impact of the recent overturning of Roe v. Wade, it's actually gotten much worse in the United States, unfortunately.
Than the US, and more doctors per capita than any.
The doctor-to-patient ratio in Cuba is amongst the world's highest, with 61% of physicians. Are women. Ooh, that's actually pretty good. I wonder what it is here in Canada.
It's crazy what they did. I mean, you have 9/11 first responders traveling to Cuba so they can get treatments they can't access in the US.
This one test that they recommended I take is about $5,000 to $7,000. I have no medical coverage, so I can't go for the last part of the test.
No se preocupe que todo eso va a ser estudiado. But that's actually someone else's documentary, and you're watching my one right now, so just don't worry about that video. Now, in order to do all this cool stuff, the new Cuban government had to make a lot of enemies, right? So a big part of eliminating poverty is getting rid of Cuba's colonial plantation system, which means taking the land back from the 0.5% of the population that owned it and distributing it to the farmers who actually worked and lived on the land. Now, the Cuban government actually wanted to do it all by the book. They didn't just take the land, they offered to buy the land.
Article 24 authorizes subject to compensation, expropriation, for the public good. Article 90 prohibits latifundia, thereby substantially limiting the concentration of land, which when you have 0.5% of people, you can just take that shit back. That's something that I worry is going to happen in Canada and the US, with megacorps buying up more and more rental properties and more single family housing and things like that, because they have the purchasing power, and Canada and the US haven't put in implementations to prevent this from happening. that we're all going to be renters for the rest of our lives. So that's delightful to look forward to in our insanely overpriced housing economy, because like, why is there a housing economy? Housing is a human right. Like, why the fuck is there such a thing as a housing economy, right? Like, I don't necessarily have a problem with like private land ownership that you rent out and shit like that. But I think that we've taken it a little too far, just like most things in capitalism.
Off the, handful of plantation owners. But like every multinational business from Apple to Amazon to Google, they paid zero tax by cooking the books. They shift their profits around so they could claim they were running at a loss. And because the new government was doing it by the book, which was cooked, they offered these businesses the amount of money that the businesses themselves had reported for the past decade. Now, every country that owned Cuban businesses, from England to Spain to Switzerland, they accepted that they had a good run doing slave labor and lying about their profits, and the jig was up, and they took the money that was offered and signed the companies over to the new Cuban government. Well, no, every single country except for the US did that. So all these Cuban plans...
All of the nations affected by the expropriation process negotiated with the Cuban government and accepted global compensation agreements, all with the exception of the United States. Delightful.
Plantation owners and oligarchs moved to
because, of course, why would the US ever be willing to do anything relatively selfless, even if it doesn't harm them in any way?
The US, expecting that Uncle Sam would quickly invade and topple the Cuban government and, they'd get their slaves back. So the CIA, the mafia, and Cuban exiles really gave it a good crack. They invaded Cuba 2 years later and lost, and then they did chemical warfare, then they tried 573 different Looney Tunes-style assassinations.
Fabian Escalante, who for a time had the job of keeping El Comandante alive, has calculated that there have been a total of 638 attempts on Castro's life, while the exploding cigar that was intended to blow up in Castro's face is perhaps the best known of attempts on his life. Others have been equally bizarre.
Attempts on Castro. They literally tried to make him smoke an exploding cigar at one point, but, they never managed to kill the Cuban president. But look, I'm not saying that the dream team of Miami Cubans, the mafia, and the CIA are a group of bumbling idiots who can't get anything done, right? They did manage to kill the American president on their first try, which is very impressive, right? But that's a whole other story. The point is, the Cuban plantation owners never gave up. They just kept going. They did heaps of cool action movie-style terrorist attacks against Cuba over the decades. They'd bomb passenger planes, they'd shoot bazookas at public theaters.
On Miami's Channel 41, he attempted participating in the August 24th, 1962 bazooka attack on a theater in Cuba that cost the lives of 20 people.
They killed a bunch of people, they were busy guys. But unfortunately, after 70 years of living in Miami, like anyone who lives there, their brains had completely melted and they just don't have the same mojo anymore. All they can do these days is, get on their knees and beg Trump to bomb them next after he's done with Iran. And when they're not doing that, they make the worst AI-generated reggaeton videos in the world, hallucinating about a utopian US-controlled Cuba where they finally get their slaves back and, Havana has a McDonald's and a Walmart and a CBS, but somehow in their vision, the CBS isn't surrounded by fentanyl addicts like you usually get at a CBS in the USA. But whatever, it's really inspiring stuff, but unfortunately, as good as their AI videos are, the Cuban government is still in charge. But there is one thing that the US did that has drastically affected Cuba, right? And it's spelled out in this declassified government memorandum from 1960, which was only a few months after the Cuban Revolution. You see, the US knew that Castro was incredibly popular, so the only way they could actually get rid of him is to completely block the country off from the outside world, bringing about hunger, desperation, and eventually the overthrow of the government. So they introduced an embargo, which the US government called the most comprehensive set of economic sanctions that any country has ever had. Now, up until this point, the US controlled Cuba for 50 years, so they were obviously
It is well to remember that in 1959, Cuba relied upon the United States for 65% of its exports and 73% of its imports. The Cuban economy was therefore totally dependent on the U.S. market. That's unfortunate.
Cuba's biggest trading partner. But the issue isn't that suddenly US companies were banned from trading with Cuba. It's actually much, much bigger than that. See, any country or company anywhere in the world that does business with Cuba will also be sanctioned and blacklisted by the US. So let's say the CEO of a foreign company is completely insane and says, fuck it, I really don't mind getting blacklisted and locked out of the global market. I just I just really, really want to sell this cancer medicine to Cuba for some reason. And even in that like super rare scenario, the US can still stop them.
Okay, well, that's not. I don't think that's a rare scenario unless it's actually happened. I think that that's like a fabricated scenario. Come on, like what company would be willing to do that? What company? Like literally, what pharmacy company? Oh my god, I'm so sorry. Slight pet peeve. Never would happen that they would like a company would risk like their shit for that. There's no freaking way. I would be amazed. You know what would be interesting? Like if a company actually did that and then the rest of the world just cut out America from like trying to prevent them from working with the company and just being like, you can't stop us all. Because like America depends on the rest of the world despite its protests more than it cares to acknowledge. One of the articles that I thought about covering was about how Canadian tourism to the United States has dropped by like, I think it's like 65%. And at least in, where was it? Massachusetts, I think, or something like that. And they're feeling it and they're upset about it because Canadians used to go down to the United States on a regular basis and spend all our money there. But now we're just kind of like, no thanks. Why would we want to go and spend money? Like, and I don't understand why other tourists aren't doing the same thing. Like why they're not just kind of like, no thanks. I'd be curious to see how much travel to the United States in terms of like vacationing and just like casual travel has diminished because of the way that the US has been behaving lately. I would love for the US to go back to normal so that I can start like really loving it again and travel back there and be like, my only concerns are your mass shootings and everything else that you guys have going on down there. But I don't foresee that happening for a very long time. People keep on talking like the US is going to have another election coming up. And I'm not sold on that idea yet. I am betting that the US is not going to have another election. I think that the last election was in 2024, and that's going to be it for a very, very long time.
Since the US essentially runs the, global
Unfortunately.
financial system and owns the global reserve.
Since World War II, the US dollar has played a central role in the global finance. It currently accounts for 88% of global foreign exchange transactions and 58% of global foreign exchange reserves, and 54% of global trade. As the default global reserve currency, central banks worldwide hold dollar reserves mainly through US Treasury securities. Yeah, like that's one of the reasons why the US has so much power and so many people are so dependent on it, is because the reserve is the United States dollar, which I don't even know how you would broach changing that and where it would change to. My best guess would be that the most likely up-and-comer would be China, which would be interesting. I wouldn't mind that.
The bank that facilitates this transaction will be fined $619 million for doing it, which happened to ING in 2012. And if you can't tell by all the spelling mistakes in the company's name, it's a Dutch bank. It's got nothing to do with the US, but they can still somehow be fined for dealing with Cuba. It's actually insane, right? They've made it nearly impossible for any country to buy or sell anything to Cuba, and nothing's off limits, right? Like in 2016, when the UN set up an international children's painting competition, and a 13-year-old Cuban boy with hemophilia won. And they had the award ceremony in Algiers, as you do, and the kid was meant to receive a Nikon camera as the grand prize. But after pressure from the US, Nikon, a Japanese company, refused to hand over the digital camera, all because the kid who won was Cuban, and they didn't want to compromise their business with the US.
That's insanely cruel. That's insane. That is something that I would imagine Donald Trump to do. But it says Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, Nikon Corp has invoked a backlash in Cuba by refusing to send a 12-year-old Cuban boy the digital camera he won as a prize in the international painting contest, citing economic sanctions imposed on Cuba by the United States. I'm dyslexic, so if I read things a little bit backwards, I apologize. I'm trying to slow down and read a little bit better. It's literally one of the reasons why I started streaming. But that's insanely evil. There's this subreddit called found Satan, this belongs there. Like, how fucking vindictive of a human being do you have to be to deny a 12-year-old a simple digital camera? Like, that's disgusting. What the fuck? Like, oh my god. Oh my god.
It's actually nuts. Like, any country in the world would have an immediate...
America hates children. Literally, America hates children, along with Israel. That's probably why they get along so fucking well. Holy shit, that's crazy.
Humanitarian crisis if it was locked out of all international trade like Cuba was. But in the words of former US President Jimmy Carter himself, the only reason the sanctions haven't created a humanitarian catastrophe in Cuba is because the Cuban government has somehow maintained one of the best healthcare systems in the world.
A humanitarian catastrophe was averted only because the Cuban government has maintained a health system that is considered uniformly as the preeminent model of the third world. Interesting. Cuba is known for sending out medical aid all the time to different countries and different places. They'll send doctors out to train. They have some of the best doctors in the world. So just because it's the third world does not mean that they don't have, like, you know, good people there that can help around the world and that they're not willing to. Which has a lot more going for it than the United States, quite frankly.
Without being able to trade with anyone, the Cubans have managed to use the very little resources that they have and make it go a really, really long way. The healthcare system isn't just surviving under 70 years of the biggest economic blockade on Earth, but they're still doing international aid. Like, a tiny country that can't trade with anyone sends more doctors to the third world than the world's 8 richest countries combined. They cured blindness for 4 million people around the world for free, and even in the more...
In 2004, Cuba and Venezuela launched Operaciono Milagro, Operation Miracle, aimed to provide free eye care and surgeries for people suffering from preventable blindness and other visual impairments. The program restored vision to more than 4 million people across 34 countries in just 15 years. This historic program is being forcibly shut down in the U.S. as the U.S. pushes Cuban doctors out of countries today, breaking one of the world's most remarkable progressions in health provisions. Because the United States is probably one of the most evil countries on this fucking planet, and it loves to just hurt people. It hates free healthcare. It hates anybody getting better. If you're not making a dime off of it, like, the United States is freaking allergic to it.
Extreme cases like Haiti, Cuban doctors make up 75% of all healthcare in the country. I mean, without Cuban doctors, there would basically be no doctors left in Haiti. It's crazy. Somehow the Cubans managed to do all this impossible stuff for almost 70 years, but that brings us to the year of the fire horse, 2026. Now, one of the only countries that's ever been brave enough to, sell oil to Cuba has been Venezuela, because, they're already sanctioned to shit, so, what more could the US government do, right? Well, it turns out the US government can actually do a lot more, right? Especially now that the government's been, supercharged with the insatiable aura of the pedophile. In January, in the middle of the night, the US military flew in, bombed the country, killed a bunch of people, and kidnapped the president of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro. And they've been holding...
Which they haven't done anything with Maduro yet. They just seem to have him. I feel like they know that they probably couldn't charge him with anything or anything like that. Or if they could, maybe they won't win, but they haven't brought any court cases or anything like that. It's been mum's the word on what's happening with Maduro. We don't even know if he's alive. He could be, we have no clue.
Him in US prison for the past 6 months, claiming he's a drug trafficker.
Whoopsies.
Which is weird because, the brother of the US Secretary of State is an actual drug trafficker, and just a month before that.
Got pardoned, yeah. Former Honduras President Hernandez freed from prison after Trump pardon. Former sentences for at least former Honduras President Juan Orlando Hernandez sentenced last year to 45 years in prison for his role in helping drug traffickers move hundreds of tons of cocaine to the United States, was released from prison following a pardon from President Donald Trump, his wife announced Tuesday. The U.S. Bureau of Prisons inmates website showed that Hernandez was released from the U.S. penitentiary Hazleton in West Virginia on Monday, and a spokesperson for the Bureau on Tuesday confirmed his release. So, the the United States and their administration, this is not new behavior, right? Like, this isn't anything unique. There is no real consistency. There is no real through line when it comes to the way that the United States treats other people. It just does whatever it wants to and then claims that it is right regardless, right? Like, it just does not matter. They'll just do whatever they want to. There is no logic to it. There is no through line. There is no real thought process behind it. It's just whatever makes Donald Trump happy is what happens, right? And he puts on a lot of like shows like kidnapping Maduro and things of that nature, because it is a kidnapping if you don't put a person on trial. That's what Guantanamo Bay is primarily for. It's for kidnapping people. There are lots of people at Guantanamo Bay who are either innocent or who have been, kidnapped with the concept of that they are somehow implicated in crimes and things like that, who have never ever seen a trial. They are literally kidnapped people, like they're kidnapped. I don't know how, I don't want to call them prisoners because it feels disingenuous and like a lie, because if you are taken from your home without any sort of information about what's going on and you're brought to a foreign land and then you're held indefinitely without a trial, that's basically kidnapping.
Trump pardoned the president of Honduras, who actually trafficked hundreds of tons of cocaine into the United States. But whatever, look, what I'm trying to say is that they're full of shit. Apart from the fact that Maduro somehow dresses exactly like my local drug dealer, there's actually zero evidence that he's involved in drug trafficking. But at the end of the day, none of that really matters, right? Venezuela got the message loud and clear and they stopped selling oil to Cuba. And just to make sure nothing else slips through, the US has sent its military out to intercept any other country that dares sell oil to Cuba. Even civilian boats are getting intercepted. I mean, look, the New York Times actually made a cute little animation of a civilian ship trying to buy and sell oil, getting ping-ponged by a wall of US ships intercepting it in the Caribbean. But this guy's one of the lucky boats. I mean, since December, the US has killed over 200 people by drone striking random ships in the Caribbean, turning the sea into a no-go zone for pretty much anyone. Now, the US claims they're killing drug traffickers, which is kind of funny because in the United States, the punishment for dealing drugs is not execution. And so it's illegal anyway, but it's also super convenient because they've simultaneously blown up all the evidence of the supposed drug trafficking. And it's extra weird considering that the families of the victims are suing the US, showing that their dead husbands, brothers, and sons are just fishermen.
These Trinidadian fishermen were killed in a U.S. boat strike. Now their families are suing. Chad Joseph, 26, and Rishi Samiru, 41, were just catching a ride home from work in Venezuela, families say.
And look, I don't know who to believe, right? Obviously, both these claims are equally credible, but that's beside the point, right? What I'm trying to say is the Caribbean Sea is now a no man's land, right? And Cuba hasn't had any fuel for 8 months. They're going through constant blackouts, the garbage trucks, the hospitals, everything's down.
There's no fuel for garbage removal. Hospitals, they have to reserve it for certain things. And it's not that there is no fuel in Cuba, it's that they have a deficit in what they need to properly run the country. I think that it was 86,000 something or other. I'm not sure of the numbers, but there was a 20,000 barrel deficit a day or a month or something like that that's causing these discrepancies, right? So some things in Cuba are running, but it's only the essentials, essentially.
It's absolutely horrifying. So as a YouTuber who cares about this stuff, my first thought was, how can I make this about me? So I teamed up with Progressive International, and together we're going to get some boats and fill them with food and medicine and see if we can get through this military blockade. Alex and I have done so much dangerous stuff in the past, and I was so excited for the next adventure, but Alex was actually too scared to do this one, right? Which, I don't really care, right? My best friend doesn't want to hang out with me. It's not like a big deal. I got heaps of other friends, actually. I got one other friend, Dan. Let me tell you, me and Dan, we go way back. We're talk about friends. He's probably my best friend ever, actually, now that I think about it. It's always just been just me and Dan against the world, and no one else matters as far as I'm concerned. We go way back. You know those guys that go to South America? You know the guys I'm talking about? They got disgusting hair, 100 armbands. They can't stop telling you about how their ayahuasca trip freed them from all their worldly vices, but they're also inexplicably addicted to Cuban cigars now. Well, that was me and Dan 14 years ago. We went to Cuba together back then and did everything you'd expect us to do. And look, obviously that was a long time ago, and we've both changed a lot since then, right? We both got haircuts. So Dan and I were all packed and ready to fly to Mexico and to try and sail this boat through the US blockade. What we didn't realize is that since we decided to go the dangerous route by boat instead of, flying all our aid in like everybody else, this trip would essentially be a never-ending cascade of bad news. And we received our first dose of it as soon as we arrived at the airport.
We got a message from the organizers. Apparently there's some fucking, cyclone. Yeah, so essentially, we're going to be delayed by 3-4 days, and we don't even know. I'm scared of the US invading Cuba.
Yeah.
The longer we wait.
I don't think that the US is going to invade Cuba. Just a second, let me think about this for a second. I'm gonna play this while I think about it.
More likely we're going to be there for.
I'm trying to think about the likelihood of the US invading Cuba this year compared to next year. And I'm just trying to calculate all the factors in my mind. Epstein is top of the list, right? The Iran war, I genuinely believe was caused because Trump needed a distraction from Epstein, and it worked, right? People are now struggling more. They're now focused on the economy rather than that because, for a lot of people, and this is not to be rude to anybody, but focusing on things like the Epstein files and stuff like that, it is very much a luxury and sort of a pop culture judicial luxury, right? Nobody, I don't have any power in whether or not any of the people involved in the Epstein files get charged. The public just has the power to put pressure on people, right? And so in return, the United States government has decided to put pressure on the people and pretty much every people, all the people, right? Because it wasn't just the United States that was calling for Donald Trump's head and everybody in the Epstein files head. It was literally the entire world. And it was still, people are absolutely appalled and disgusted by and large, unless you're a weirdo freak Trump flunky who has no problem with the fact that he is a reasonably alleged pedophile, right? Things of that nature. So whenever there is pressure on the people, from the people, the government will put pressure back on them to try to put them back in their place. And effectively, the Iran war and the fallout from the Iran war in terms of financial damage done to, the 60% of people that I mentioned who are living paycheck to paycheck, on average, it's costing people $1,000 a year, additional $1,000 in taxes a year so far. In regards to, and that's just taxes. That's not counting the inflation rate of groceries and gas and things of that, and things of that nature, and things that you have to live with and need every single day and consume every single day. That is just taxes alone. And if you're living paycheck to paycheck, that is an extreme burden that you now have to live with that you cannot escape, unfortunately, because unless you're going to be homeless, you can't really escape the economy. And even then, you still need money for food to eat, right? That's why we have beggars and people who do things theft and stuff like that. That's why usually it increases. The poorer, the worse the economy does, the higher crime goes up by and large. But so I fully believe that Iran, to some extent, was due to the Epstein files because Donald Trump needed distraction. And so I'm trying to calculate, it's what are the likelihood that the Epstein files are going to come back into the news again and Donald Trump is going to actually genuinely invade Cuba? I feel like it's more likely that Donald Trump will annex Cuba, which I don't quite understand why he hasn't yet. Is it just because Cuba is so big, or what is preventing him from doing that? What's the logic there? Because he's constantly talking about invading Cuba. He's I'm going to invade Cuba next after Iran. I can't do a good Trump impersonation. I don't even remember what he sounds like right now. But he's I'm going to invade Cuba after Iran. Cuba is next. Cuba is going to be next. I'm going to invade Cuba next. Right? And it's just kind of I can see them invading Cuba for their oil, of course, naturally. But I don't think that it will happen this year. I'm predicting that it won't happen this year. I feel like I'm probably going to end up eating my words, but I have a prediction that I don't think that the United States is going to invade, Cuba this year, if they invade them at all.
When that happens.
Everyone else just flying in, hey?
Yeah, every smart person,
Yeah.
every important person. But also, like, I'm scared of getting bombed by the US, and it's just like, now we're taking the slowest boat possible. We're gonna spend like a month in that little channel, just like begging them to intervene. If we were fast enough, it's like we've got a day. We've got a day in which it can happen. That's it's not a lot of time for the Navy to make decisions, you know. But now they're going to be like, oh, do you want to do it today? They say nah. And then like 3 days later, they check in. They're like, they might change their mind.
Who's our captain anyway?
I don't know.
You have no idea.
He could be a fucking psycho. He could
It probably is.
He could be Lieutenant Dan.
But who is this guy who's just...
He's like, yeah, I'd love to sail.
I'd love
like
to go get bombed, you know?
I'd love to take YouTubers on a dangerous trip to here.
No
What
migrants.
the fuck is that?
Yeah, that's like... That's weather. Trust him as my captain.
The stupid windy piece of shit.
I was really scared of the cyclone and the delays, but there was another coincidental issue that made me really scared of being in Cancun specifically and waiting for the weather to clear up.
Look, we actually timed it perfectly for the peak of spring.
That is just so stupid.
Yeah.
We're gonna be the most disgusting men in the world.
This is the worst.
Yeah, man, there's a couple of 30-year-olds with 1,000 cameras. I feel like a married man who's concocted like the most transparent lie I could think of. Sorry, babe, I gotta go do aid work. The children need me, man. What? Spring break for a week? Popular with 18 to 25-year-olds, that's us.
We're gonna get arrested. Like, it's not our fault.
I was trying to do aid.
Well, we're on the plane now, so there's no turning back from our destiny of, being creeps in their mid-30s going to spring break. But whatever, that's a minor annoyance. We also had to fly a really stupid way to get there. Since the US has this tendency of, arresting and
Ozzy denied entry into the US after being questioned over pro-Palestine posts. That's something that also comes to my mind because I talk a lot of smack about the United States. I'm like, I wonder if they would reject me at this point because I've talked so much shit about the United States. I don't think that they know who I am yet. I'm like too small time. I don't think that Israel knows who I am yet either. Thank God. Maybe? I don't know. Hard to tell. Anyways, I'm still going to talk smack about both those shitholes. Like, Jesus Christ, like, what the fuck? You're really going to deny people over pro-Palestine posts? Like, what on earth could those posts have said? Like, please stop killing babies?
supporting people who they don't like, even if they're just doing a...
Did JD Vance meme get tourists banned from the US? All Norwegian tourists say... A Norwegian tourist says he was denied entry into the United States after immigration agents took issue with a meme of Vice President J.D. Vance on his phone. U.S. Homeland Security officials say he was turned away from admitting drug use. But why? Why would that turn somebody away? Isn't pot legal in the United States now or something? Or at least in some places.
Entering the US, we had to fly all the way up to Canada, even if they're just doing a layover.
Just a second. Have you recently had an abortion? Australian transitioning through US questioned, then deported. Madeline says she was on her way to Canada for a holiday when US immigration officials intervened. What the hell? Seriously? Like, they hate women. The United States hates women and children so freaking much, despite the fact that they claim to love children so much. It's insane.
Not actually entering the US, we had to fly all the way up to Canada and then fly back down to Mexico.
Oh.
Welcome to Canada.
How the thumbs going, Dad? I did not think about this. I was just like, it's only 5 hours from Cancun. Oh, spring break.
So we just sat in the warmest diner we could find near the airport for like 13 hours.
I don't know what's... It must have been like spring or winter still when they came. That's hilarious. Aw, poor boys.
And then it was time to fly over to the climate that we actually packed clothes for.
Tenemos que practicar español. Tengo una idea. Todo el vuelo. Solo hablamos en español.
Bueno.
Para practicar. Sí.
Claro.
Si no sabemos cómo se dice algo, tenemos que decirlo en inglés con un acento en español. Yo tengo miedo De las bombas americanas.
In case you couldn't read the subtitles, they were saying that for the trip they're gonna like speak in Spanish, and if they don't understand, like know a Spanish word, they're gonna say it in English with a Spanish accent, and that they're worried about bombing.
Necesito hacer
I need
caca
to
en mis
do a
pantalones.
poo-poo in my
Sí,
pants.
es como
Yeah?
se dice.
That's
Se
how
dice
you say
así.
it. That's how you say it, like that.
We
Correct.
finally touched down in Mexico and we had to make our way to this little island where our boats were leaving from. So far, Mexico's the best country I've ever seen. Live music on the ferry ride, it was bloody great.
This is the kind of thing that happens when you go to heaven.
It's like the Lord of the Rings, the final scene when they go to the elvish heaven.
Be hearing this song when we get double tapped. I've never seen my own dad so clearly.
This is what it's gonna be like.
Floating up that way.
You ascend into the heavens.
So there we were. We're on the island and it was time to see the boats and meet our fellow sailors.
We haven't slept in like 2 days.
So they're in Mexico right
And
now.
there's something about being so,
I think.
so severely jet lagged that like it doesn't feel real.
Yeah.
You know, and even if we're doing something normal, it would feel surreal. We're also doing something insane.
So we found the place and it turns out our boats were just on the other side of this mangrove. Now I went in there without filming because I didn't want to ruin my first impression by being, an annoying YouTuber and sticking a camera in people's faces. But it turns out their first impression of me was actually much, much worse than any of that, right? Like,
no.
What happened next is probably the most embarrassing thing I've ever put on the internet. And in my defense, I was very sleep deprived, like super sleep deprived. But I don't even know why I'm making excuses, right? You're going to see it anyway. But I essentially ran away from them, right? I shat my pants and I just ran away. Like I was only there for like 2 minutes and I met them and I said, hi, my name is Alexa. And these are like serious activists that were on the previous flotilla to Gaza. And they started telling me all this scary stuff, like about the likelihood of us getting bombed and how dangerous the conditions are in the sea right now. And I suddenly felt like this burning sensation in my stomach and I said I need to go poo, but then I disappeared for like 24 hours. And to be fair, I was actually pooing for a while. Like it was one of those like serious like shirt off poos, but that only accounted for like 15 minutes of my.
Is that common? How? What? Is that a thing? Or is this a dude thing? Where you take your shirt off to go poo? What? I've never heard of this before. Okay.
Experience. So the next 24 hours were mainly just me panicking and planning to go home.
You okay?
My stomach's fucked.
No.
Whoa, what's going on there?
Yeah, I just feel like an idiot. Did I come all this way, like, secretly knowing that I didn't want to do this thing? I feel like the dumbest guy in the world. Like, what did I think it was going to look like? What could it possibly have looked like that wasn't this confronting? And now I'm fucking embarrassed, because, like, why did I disappear? Why was I there for 2 seconds?
Like, what are your options? I mean, I don't think you can really go home.
I mean, you can do it either. That's the thing. I can go home and just, like, learn that I'm not that guy. Like,
No,
True.
I don't think you're gonna feel good doing that.
I feel bad, but it's like, I could have died. But anything's better than that.
Yeah, you really feel.
Yeah, I'm like really scared.
Yeah.
Hours
Aww.
passed during this freak out. The organizers didn't know where I'd gone. Like, little did they know that I was just a kilometer away and it was just me staring into the void and apparently stimming, which is a brand new feature I didn't realize I had for the past 30 years. But this one I worked out what the problem was.
Late autism diagnose? Like a late autism unlock? Who knows?
Like, it's not the fact that I'm like a pampered YouTuber who pretends he cares about the world but, can't handle any risk to his comfortable middle-class life. You see, the problem was Dan. See, Dan is one of those very kind people, right? Like a really good friend that's gonna when they see their friend panicking, they try to comfort them, right? Like hear them out and give them space. But that's when I realized what I actually needed was like an asshole like Alex, right? Whenever I freak out while we're sneaking into a CIA base or laundering money, he's always been there to concoct the most sociopathically efficient way to bully me into doing something I'm terrified of.
Hey, Alec.
Hey, Dan. I am fucking shitting myself. I'm so scared.
We meant to
Aw.
go meet everybody, Alex. And Alexa just decided he needed to take a crap and ran off.
I literally ran away.
No, I don't really want to do this anymore, guys. Yeah.
Oh, actually, I just remembered I need to poo, and then they never see me again.
It's exactly what you asked.
No, it is exactly what I asked for, and now I'm thinking like, did I just secretly know the entire time that I didn't want to do this?
Well, I was surprised. Like, why am I freaking out more than Alexa is? I was like, is this man fucking suddenly love the open ocean?
Why am I so fucking stupid?
Well, Alexa, I think you know nothing about sailing, so don't try to understand it. All right?
Yeah.
Just let them. You're not going to magically solve all their sailing problems in like 5 minutes. They're like, wait, what if we tried this? It's just going to confuse you, and you're going to feel worse about it.
Well, I feel really bad now, so I think that's what's happened. The woman who's like one of the organizers did the Gaza flotilla, and she's like, yeah, you know, when we did that, it was like a 70% chance that we would die, you know, and we all knew that. And this one,
I think that was a flashbang that we saw before the person got down on the deck, because they'll use flashbangs and things like that, so it wasn't a bomb.
and you know, it's more chill, and I'm just like, I don't. What do you like? How much more chill? I'm like with people who seem like their risk tolerance is so high.
Like Dan.
Like Dan. Well, Dan's like, yeah, they seem really nice and cool.
Well, I think you need to remember, Alexa, that you are a YouTube content creator.
Yeah.
I think, what would Mr. Beast do?
Pay someone else to do it. Pay someone $1 million to do it with their hands tied behind their back.
Yeah, fuck, I forgot. I said that was meant to be helpful. I forgot he would do that. He would do it. So, Alexa, I really gotta poo as well.
But that was my problem.
I know, but that's what I gotta do now as well.
Okay.
Alright, well, good luck. Let me know what you decide to do.
Okay, bye-bye. So the call obviously didn't help, and I immediately went back to being a fidgety little coward. I spent 2 minutes around legitimately selfless people who understand that their lives aren't more important than the lives of Palestinians and Cubans, and you know, they're willing to put their money where their mouth is, and I was slowly realizing that I'm a bit of a phony, and I'm terrified. Like, before I made any drastic decisions, I did decide to sleep on it, right? And honestly, a decent part of my panic could be attributed to the fact that
What do they say courage is, or bravery is? It's being scared shitless and doing it anyway. This is incredibly impressive that he went forth anyway. Obviously, he went forward with it. He didn't turn around. Otherwise, what kind of video would that make? So good for you. That is highly impressive.
I hadn't slept 50 hours because the next day was absolutely beautiful. I mean, look, the boats weren't in the best condition. You know, the wood was rotten, the metal beams were snapped. You know, we were essentially stranded, waiting for the weather to get better. And the third boat that we were meant to be on hadn't even arrived in the port yet.
Oh my
I mean, we weren't
God.
even sure if it existed. But everyone was just trying their best to deal with all these problems. And I discovered that it's surprisingly easy to distract yourself from your imminent death when you're busy trying to fix up a boat. For the next few days, we'd spend the daytime fixing up the boats and spend the nights having, you know, little hoedowns. I honestly felt like I was living through the kind of thing that a middle-aged woman would fantasize about when, you know, her husband forgets her anniversary. You know, just a ship full of sexy young adventurers in South America, just surrounded by, like, you know, socially conscious, ripped guys who They stare deep into your eyes and promise to take you far away to feed starving people and make love under the stars. But still, for those few days, I was actually having a great time, right? Apart from when we sang all those sea shanties that, for some reason, they traditionally always focus on sailors dying horrible deaths on the ocean. But I did learn a lot about like boat maintenance, and I met a lot of cool people. Which reminds me, I promised Jorge I'd plug his homemade chairs in this video. So if you're
Those are actually pretty dope. I thought about making some of these someday, but they're so complicated to make. Like, it takes a lot of effort. Super dope. I like the patterns.
ever in Isla Mujeres and you need a really good chair, go find Jorge. He's got you covered. Anyway, as each day went past, I was getting a lot more comfortable. But more importantly, since a lot of these people had been on the previous flotilla to Gaza, like this guy playing the fiddle called Adnan, he let me know in detail what we were in for, and I was surprised. You know, I spent the lead up to this trip freaking out about getting bombed by the US, but it turns out it's also pretty fucked if they don't kill you, right? Even just getting intercepted by the military is still a horrifying experience.
Normally they intercept the boats with like their elite marine units, but there were so many boats, they didn't have enough of those elite forces, so they just called up like reservists, and you could see that they were like totally, like they didn't know how to drive the boat, like they couldn't figure out, like they were throwing up, they were seasick, like I mean, it's, you know, once you first see that green laser dot on your chest and you know that it's an 18-year-old who's been raised from birth to think that you're some kind of threat and subhuman, honestly, there's a pretty decent chance they'll pull the trigger.
Now, the interesting thing about Adnan is that, unlike everyone else who was sailing into the arms of the IDF, Adnan was simultaneously on a family vacation because he was on the boat with his younger brother as well.
They demanded the passport when they intercepted him, and he said, I want to speak to a lawyer.
Oh, yeah.
And they punched him in the face. And when they loaded him on the prison bus, like, there's cells on the bus, so like you're already locked up. And the 4 of the guys just jumped on him and just started hammering him.
Holy shit.
And they beat him until he fell to his knees and curled up in a fetal position, and they were kicking him. And I was there watching my brother get beat, and I couldn't do that.
Yeah, what can you do?
It was tough. You know, finally, I think we got into our cell. It was like a relief to be in the cell. You're like, okay, we're gonna be left alone at least for a little while now, you know.
But the relief didn't last long. Now, this is where the psychological warfare started.
We were like totally disoriented. I mean, we hadn't slept for 24 hours, and we were just exhausted. Of course, I don't know what time it was in the morning. They undo the padlock. It's a big crossbar that they take off the door, so you hear the clunk, you know, of the metal. We were made to kneel down. Put our hands on our heads, and we didn't understand what was going on at all. So they've got dogs as well that they come in and they're like ready to release on you. They've got their green sniper dots on your chest. Yeah, sometimes they would just come in and count you. Yeah. And it's like, you think somebody slipped away?
Yeah,
you know?
they ate each other.
Yeah.
Like,
Psychological warfare, 100%. Psychological torture. Unnecessary bullshit.
Hey, no, I wanted to move to the next cell. I just tunneled through the wall. You know, I don't know what the hell.
So they do this weird intimidation routine multiple times a night. Like, you never know when it's coming, right? And it always ends with them counting you.
But one time, he forgot how many people were in the cell afterwards. So they came in like all like shock and awe. Lights on, guns out, dogs in, everything, count us, blah, blah, blah. And then he forgot. So after we were all like getting back in bed, he came back and like meekly poked his head like through the bars of the cage, and he's like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
That's ridiculous.
And it was so funny to me, like why don't you just do that in the first place?
Yeah.
Obviously, it's because you want to terrorize.
Intimidation, yeah. I mean, look, it's a horrifying experience, but these activists are just constantly willing to put their lives on the line, like again and again for a good cause. And it makes sense why they do it, right? When you're fighting against the most powerful countries in the world and you're just a regular civilian, the flotillas are actually a really clever tactic. Like Cuba and Gaza, right? A group of people are being starved by a military blockade, but the countries that are doing it are put in an impossible position when the flotilla arrives, right? So either you let them through and you look weak and it inspires more people to try and break your blockade, or you kill them or imprison them, in which case you look like a monster because now you're harming civilians from other countries, not just, the brown people that you've so far been able to justify killing. For that reason,
something that Israel has absolutely no problem doing, by the way. Like, Israel has, I don't know if Israel has ever let a flotilla through without intercepting it. They have like such tight controls on things that it's more likely going to Gaza, you're much more likely to die doing that than you are going to Cuba, even though there is still a risk from the United States. But yeah, definitely drastically more dangerous going to Gaza or Palestine or trying to get aid to them than it is anywhere else.
The authorities try to stop the flotilla at every step of the way before you set sail, which is actually quite easy to do in the case of Cuba because the country's already sanctioned to shit, right? So if we want to get a boat for the flotilla, the company that rents or sells it to us and the insurance company that's covering the transaction and the voyage, they're immediately locked out of the international banking system because they're now doing business related to Cuba, right? And I don't know, no business is going to take that risk. So that's why our boats kind of suck, right? Like we either had to salvage like an old shit boat or pay a business an exorbitant amount of money to, make up for the fact that, their company will practically cease to exist after they do business with us. And we got a taste of that bureaucratic issue while we were fixing up these ships, and the ship that we were meant to be on never arrived. Right? It turns out all this pressure from the US and their sanctions meant that our boat was being held up all the way over here in Progreso, 300 kilometers in the wrong direction. So Dan and I had to get a last-minute bus across Yucatan and gear up for a much longer sea voyage, if we were actually going to be allowed to set sail at all. Which is a pretty annoying situation to be in, but it was only exacerbated by the fact that the Mexican bus company chose the worst possible movies to play.
There are so many movies in the world. Why did the Mexican bus have to play the one of everyone dying at sea? What the fuck is this? I hate this.
That's pretty funny.
And if that wasn't spooky enough, we got another call from Alex to scare us even more.
Trump's comments this morning where Trump was just saying, yeah, I can take it.
I do believe I'll be having the honor of making Cuba. I think I can do anything I want with it. You want to know the truth? They're a very weakened nation.
Are you saying that as you're there?
Oh, I fucking hate it. It actually changes the way I look at Twitter now because everything I read scares the crap out of me. Like, hearing just like everyone's opinions on this thing is so upsetting. I'm just like, just shut up. Just don't talk about it. Just leave me alone. Like,
No.
But we finally arrived to Progreso Harbour and it was time to see our boat.
I have not seen our boat. I've heard some horrible things about it, but I haven't seen it.
What's the best case scenario?
I don't know. Well, that's the thing. I don't even know what a good boat looks like.
What are you looking for here?
I want to see a local walk past and go, good boat.
But we finally arrived to Progreso Harbour and it was time to see our boat. The only problem is no one from the flotilla was here yet, so we're just a couple of gringos in a fishing town trying to work out which boat is ours.
I'm really hoping it's that luxury yacht with the American flag on it.
Look at that thing, hey?
All I could really tell was that these were definitely 100% fishing boats.
Oh yeah, you can smell that.
Yeah, that's pretty potent. I guess we're
They
on.
said blue and white, which is...
That could be one of them.
Oh fuck, is that one wooden?
Yeah.
We got the one wooden one.
After a little while, the other activists showed up and we were about to get our first glimpse of the boat.
But they told me it was the biggest one. And you can see it there, just sticking out of the top. Big is good, I think. Bigger the boat,
Yeah,
better
right.
the boat.
Right.
Think about Titanic, you know, big.
How are you going to get to it? You got to sail over to our boat.
Oh, that's true.
Oh, here we go, but yeah, boat to the boat.
I think it's had a fresh coat of paint too.
You can smell the fresh paint.
Like everyone has to take care of.
Don't worry, that'll be me.
Yes, I'm super excited. It's so much improved from yesterday.
Oh really? I feel like the smell of the paint is really overpowering the smell of the fish. Put like a fresh coat of paint on a fishing boat, you don't know what the actual offensive smell is, you know? It's good.
Whoa. The aid hadn't arrived yet, so we were getting busy, cleaning up and washing the boat, and I thought I was doing a pretty good job and, making myself useful, but I'd barely been on the boat for 15 minutes, and I managed to secure my position as the most useless crew member. Now, pay attention to this rusty metal shaft that goes down 2 meters into the engine room. Even though I'm filming it right now, in about 3 minutes, I'm about to forget all about it and walk into the boat with my head held high and just plummet straight down that hole.
Oh no!
And then everybody yell out and say, that's definitely Alexa's falling down the hole. There's like 30 people here. What happened, Alexa?
I walked straight through the hole.
You gotta watch out for that. Oh man. You gotta be careful. You're really hurt doing that. Yeah, careful. Oh man. Those long legs of yours. Could you just like split your head open?
Yeah, that's crazy. That should not have happened.
While we're in this fishing village, watching all these fishermen trying to help us reverse park our fishing boat, something dawned on me.
I've been shitting myself for a week about the US bombing all those fishing boats. I didn't realize we're like exactly on a fishing boat. Like this is the worst kind of boat for it, isn't it?
This is where the tuna go.
Yeah, there's a little fish hatch.
What I also didn't take into account is that the fishermen here, all around us, live with the constant fear of getting bombed every time they set sail to do their jobs.
Yep. Who knows if we'll come... just a second, sorry guys. You go to sea and... Who knows if you'll come back. They might attack and boom, that's it. These days, with Trump the with Trump's administration, things are pretty rough. In my opinion, the bad guy is Trump. Yeah, mine too, buddy. Mine too. Like, I don't think that any of these people deserve to die. Even if you are a drug trafficker, like, drug trafficking is, like, one of the biggest L's of society, and I used to be like this before, I've said this before, is being anti-drug regulation. If we really wanted to win the war on drugs, what we would do is regulate it, right? Regulate and tax it just like we have weed, and the problem is immediately solved. Like, not immediately solved, but it is drastically reduced, right? Like, there's still obviously people out there that sell their own weed and things like that nature, but the market for it would decrease drastically. The safety of the supply would increase exponentially. The amount of like tax dollars that you would get from like selling this stuff would help bolster communities. I feel like the only reason, like, I know why I was anti-drug legalization before, but like, I feel like for the vast majority of people, their reasons are just like, oh, it's sinful, it's bad to do drugs and all this other stuff, like drug scares. You know, there's like that DARE program and all this other stuff that goes around to like high schools to scare the children and stuff like that. Ooh, drugs are bad. It's just like, maybe killing random people on boats is worse. 200 random people that you can't even confirm 100% whether or not they are actually drug traffickers, because you just literally blow up their entire boats, and like was expressed earlier in this video, you will blow up the evidence, the potential evidence to prove your case. And as I say earlier, that's not even something that you can get executed for in the United States yet. He wants to take over everything. He's restricting Cuba. He treats them so badly. It shouldn't be like that. And what do you think of the flotilla? This one, very good. Honestly, it's beautiful. God willing, you'll arrive. Oh, fuck. Could you imagine hearing that? Oh, goodness. Be like, oh, thanks, but terrifying at the same time. I've heard the news, and they've taken everything from Cubans. The humanitarian aid never arrived, which many countries have sent. You see how these poor people are treated.
It's horrifying, thinking that these people risk getting blown up just for doing their jobs. And, you know, I felt awful until the fisherman started flexing on us about like how much better his boat was than our boat. And then, I don't know, I felt kind of neutral about it after that.
And where are you guys going to sleep? Yeah, I don't know where they're sleeping. It's very well. There's like 10 beds for 25 people. Have you seen this? Full hardwood interiors. Yep. Maybe you can go with you instead. We're coming with you.
Unfortunately, we had to end our tour of this guy's much more comfortable and sturdier boat because our aid truck started coming in, and it was time to somehow get 30 tons of food and medicine onto this boat. Now, we didn't just have 3 big trucks, but also a bunch of like nice everyday people heard what was going on and drove up and brought their own donations. It was really beautiful.
That's
It
cool.
was a lot of work, but the energy was great. Everyone was singing the whole
I know it sounds like cheesy and stuff like that, but every bit really does help, right? Like that little bit of aid that those other people brought, it could literally save people's lives, like extend their lives for a little bit longer.
time. So even when you're on your 50th sack of beans and, you know, it rips apart and you spill beans everywhere,
Oh, no.
you need to like tape it up and fix it, you still feel great. It had been hours and hours of hot work, and I was slowly starting to realize how much 30 tons actually is, right? Like, especially when you're down in the hull, loading an endless stream of sacks and boxes.
It's really warm down there. Yeah.
Been down below.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Just this thick smell of diesel.
Yeah.
Hot.
Working.
Boxes. Is this another? Is one of the?
Yeah, there's 2 more to go.
Is this the same truck?
Same one.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, there's a lot of
Let's
stuff.
go have a smoke.
But we just kept going, right? Loading bicycles and solar panels and everything that would fit on this boat. It got to 3 a.m. and it looked like we were maybe, I don't know, getting close to finishing. until the Mexican Navy heard what was going on and they made us stop so they could check through all the things we were loading to make sure everything was up to code, which led to hours of negotiations, right? When they clocked that we had filled this little boat with like 30 tons of aid and there were only 10 beds, they insisted that we only had capacity for 10 people and that more than half of us wouldn't be able to make the trip, which is, a rough thing to hear after weeks of preparation, but eventually they caved and let us go. Until the sun came up the next morning and they returned to address even more regulatory issues and safety concerns. But at least there's one major safety concern that we don't need to worry about because...
The irony of, Mexico caring more about these people than the United States is, it's par for the course, it feels like. Very much par for the course, right? I don't know. What else do you say?
We addressed it within the first 15 minutes of seeing the boat.
Right, they painted that white water around it because of me. I'm integral to the ship's safety. If it wasn't for me, they wouldn't have painted that thing there.
Safety officer.
Yeah. I just go out, walk through places, get hurt, and then we know what the dangerous things are.
But it was all squared away now, and we had officially gotten our passport stamped by the customs officer. So this was it, right? There's no turning back now, and I am terrified.
That's it.
There we go.
Well, if we don't go now, then we're going to be illegal in Mexico. No, you learn something new about yourself all the time.
What are you learning?
I realize that when I'm actually scared, I need a poo.
You're like an octopus.
I don't understand. I thought it was like a turn of phrase, like shitting myself.
No. Oh, there you go.
I can't stop pooping.
This is a journey of self-discovery.
I don't want to know that. It's so inconvenient. Imagine if I have to do something important in the future.
Yeah.
I would just have to poo myself.
Yeah, no, you can prepare for the scenario. A low-fiber diet.
I'm about to have a baby. I gotta shit. I go to my parents' funeral. I'm shitting. I'm not there. How bad is that? What am I going to do on the boat? I'm just going to be pooping the entire time.
Yeah, better the devil we know, hey?
Thank you all to the dock workers. Who's going to vomit first? Him?
Well, there you go. I'm stuck on the boat now, and whatever happens, happens. So I guess now's a good time to find out what the actual chances are I'll get blown up out here. Now, you might think the US is blowing up narco traffickers in the Caribbean, or you might think they're just killing random fishermen, and that depends a lot on what kind of media you consume. Now, if you're watching this from a boat in the Caribbean and you want to work out if a missile is heading your way, you could read through every single news article ever written and sift through the bias to find out if you're being targeted.
Ethical reacts, chat.
Time is of the essence in this scenario, so thankfully, today's sponsor, Ground News, has you covered.
Yep.
Ground News is...
Frickin' knew it! Ethical Reacts chat.
The website and app designed
While
to
he's
sift
doing
through
that, I'm
political
gonna grab
bias
my
and make
yogurt.
the news more transparent. So let's say I want to look up the US bombing boats in the Caribbean. You can see that 244 sources reported on this, with 28% of them leaning left and 19% leaning right. You can also see how reliable these sources are and who owns them. And if you click on one of the left-wing articles, they'll say that an overwhelming consensus of experts call it a crime against humanity and highlight the fact that the relatives claim the victims are just fishermen. But on the right, they'll report that the victims are narco-terrorists and console you that not a single drone operator was harmed when they pressed the kill button. My favourite part of the app is the blind spot feature, which shows you stories only reported by one side of the political spectrum. Without this feature, I'd have no idea that consumers of right-wing media receive nationwide updates when a random transgender teenager wins a race at a local Californian sporting event. As you know, I comb through thousands of sources to make these videos, and Ground News is the perfect tool to simplify this process and keep me informed. And you could be as well informed as me, right? You just need to subscribe today. So go to ground.news/boyboy, click the link in the video description or use the QR code to get 40% off the unlimited access Vantage plan, the same one I'm using. So subscribe today and stay informed. Okay, now back to the video. Everyone was so excited to finally set sail, and for some reason, as soon as the boat left, I wasn't that scared anymore. It's kind of like the possibility of going home kept me in a state of panic, and now that I knew I had no choice, my mind just tried to shut off all the, unhelpful negative stuff.
I was pooping my pants out of fear like half an hour ago. And now I feel like I've never pooed before in my life. It's perfect.
Okay.
I feel really, really good.
Quietly confident, eh?
Yeah, I reckon. I'm not the kind of person that dies. No,
Never.
hasn't happened before.
What do you reckon is sailing life for you?
For now, in the harbour, the 5 minutes of sailing we've done, I reckon I could do this the rest of my life.
Now, I knew we had a bunch of activists and journalists on board from around the world, but I felt a bit out of place seeing the caliber of journalism on this boat.
I should have brought a suit.
Yeah, your channel, you'd be much more legitimate.
That's fucking awesome. Is he gonna wear it the whole time?
But as we left the harbour, it got harder and harder to hold the camera straight. And eventually it got hard to just stand straight. And I realise now that I'm editing it, it's surprisingly hard to capture how unstable the boat was on camera because, you know, the cameraman is essentially being a human gimbal. Like here's an example. If you do this to a chicken, notice how its head always stays upright. That was us when we were filming, right? You're watching this video through the chicken's head and everything looks much, much better from the perspective of the chicken.
It's hard to walk around, man.
No few legs.
Yeah. Are we gonna get used to it? I don't know.
No, I don't know. I need to hold onto a wall.
Apparently this is the easy bit.
No.
Yeah. I think the waves are gonna get fucked.
Oh, Lord Jesus.
At this point, I realized there was something I needed to do that I should have done while the boat was stationary.
Gotta put this on top of the boat.
You're gonna fall off.
I can barely walk down here. There we go. Yeah.
I was pretty scared of flying overboard when I went to set up this satellite on the roof, but now that I'm editing the video, I'm actually much more scared about the fact that my dick was hanging out of my pants the entire time. Going through the footage is so bad.
Don't worry. I had a high school teacher who would do that shit to us all the fucking time. He never wore underwear, and he would make us sit in a circle, and he would cross his legs, and like his dick and balls would constantly fall out. Or there'd be another situation because we did like traveling and stuff like that in the school that I went to. Trust me, it's not that fancy. But he would go on top of the bus that we used to travel and stuff like that, still not wearing underwear, and like force us to lift stuff up to him so that we were forced to look up his shorts all the time. I feel like constantly every day realizing, like, as a kid, I was horribly mistreated. But anyway, just don't worry about it because it's like not that big a deal. It's not that traumatizing. It's just like a little.
Because there's just like so many clips.
Plus, you're around other adults, so
on the screen. And before we set sail, you know, we got all our luggage. We ratcheted it up like down in the hull so it wouldn't fly around everywhere. But that meant that all I could really wear was the.
And you were doing it by accident.
You know, it was really stupid. So if anyone on the Flotilla was watching this, I'm so sorry you had to stare at my balls for like an entire week. Like I actually had no idea.
And you're apologetic? My goodness.
I don't know, getting seasick and worried about getting bombed is bad enough without having to stare at my balls all week. So I'm really sorry. But back to the satellite. I got up on the roof and the waves were pretty nuts. Like I tried to keep my body, you know, close to the ground, but the ground wasn't particularly stable either.
Bits of the roof are coming off. Very slippery. If we get intercepted by the US Navy, if I can get internet on this ship, then I can back everything up. And then they take us, they imprison us, whatever. But the footage, what you're watching right now, is going to be on the internet. All because of what we're doing right now.
Okay.
That's
so
cool.
If you're watching this, if you can see this video, it means the internet worked and we got it through. If you're not watching this, it means it didn't work.
But I had no choice, right? You slowly get used to the movement of the boat and you learn to stay low, and we set the internet up in no time, and I could get back to work backing up our footage.
What are you doing?
Just backing everything up, making sure it's everywhere. Everywhere. This one.
So where's that going?
My ass.
Okay.
Look how small it is.
Oh, it's teeny tiny.
Straight in my ass.
Go ahead and notice a thing.
This one. On the front, in my penis. They're all these different offices.
Oh, right, yeah.
Hi, heroes. How are you? Welcome in. I hope everybody's doing well. I'm just snacking on some yogurt. My name is Wax Philosophical. I like to wax the philosophical. We're going to give Heroes a shout out. Hi. No. Is that how you say your name? Welcome in, everybody. We're watching Boy Boy. I'm going to give Kiros a shout out quickly first. We're watching Boy Boy's new video about going to Cuba. How was your stream? Also, don't worry about if you have to raid and run or anything like that. I'm real tired. Gotta go walk. Thank you for the follow. I appreciate it, Bungalow. Just like, oh no, so many chats. Gotta walk Sebastian and go to sleep. Enjoy the stream, y'all. Thank you so much. Have a good time on your walk and stuff like that. I hope you had a wonderful stream. I've been lurking recently. It's 1 a.m. here. Oh my God. It is only 3 o'clock here in the afternoon, but I'm on like the furthest West Coast, so I'm always like behind everybody else. All good. Thank you, guys. Yeah, we're watching Boy Boy right now, but if you're unaware of who I am, I gotta go to sleep. No worries. A friend of a friend. I love your username. Thank you for coming in with the raid, everybody. If anybody has to run, don't worry about it. I know, like, sometimes 3:30 a.m. Oh my gosh. Everybody is, like, so far behind me. I should move, like, somewhere else so that I'm ahead of you guys. But if you're unaware of who I am a political commentator, Twitch streamer, obviously, and I do gaming as well, primarily horror gaming. We're going to be playing Meccha Chameleon a little bit later in the stream, but otherwise, here's a link to the video that we're watching currently if you want to watch it from the start. But yeah, I think I saw Kairos, I always say his name wrong, Kairos? A little while ago, and it's been excellent ever since. So if anybody is in my chat, go give him a follow. He is also a political commentator, and he is very informative, speaks multiple languages, often talks about Marxism and what's going on in the world too. But right now, we're just going to get back to this. If you're unaware of this is Boy Boy. They are very, very famous YouTubers. I think they are Australian originally, and they were on the flotilla to Cuba, and right now we're just along with the journey on their way to Cuba. So we're just going to continue the video, and I hope that everybody has a wonderful time while you're here. Thank you so much for coming in.
Now, the next challenge of the day, which is actually quite linked to me being scared on the roof, is needing to use this thing. Now,
so he just set up his
constantly
internet.
Rocking back and forth, you need to secure the door while you're hovering over this seatless toilet. And if you're a socially minded person, you're probably going to want to flush when you're done. So you have to get this bucket and lower it over the side of the boat and fill it up with seawater before you even go in. Now, I used this toilet exactly once, like only on the first day. It was actually impossible to stay still, right? You're squatting over this thing, shaking back and forth, you're shitting everywhere, and
He talks about poo a lot in this video, just a heads up. But it is still really entertaining and interesting. So yeah,
like
check it out.
20 minutes to just clean up the mess that I made. And at that point,
Oopsies,
I
sorry,
made a vow
guys.
that I just wouldn't poo ever again. And I just go mind over matter and just like hold it in for the next week.
I don't think that that's
it's not even
healthy
about
for
the
you.
sheer difficulty of like pooping. It's also the fact that you're just in this like stinky, confined plywood box, and it just makes you seasick immediately. So, you know, feeling constipated is way better than that. But it also became increasingly difficult to be inside the boat at all. Because it turns out the Alexopoulos Memorial Shaft was left constantly open to stop the engine room from overheating, which meant that the kitchen and the bunk beds were just dense with this like noxious diesel fume. So when the sun started going down, most people tried to find some space to sleep on the floor outside, which was harder than we originally thought because, you know, we loaded multiple pallets of solar panels on the deck. So there wasn't a lot of space for sleeping. If you're lucky, you'd get a hold of one of the few gym mats that were lying around and, you know, find a spare spot. Or you'd make really good friends with someone who managed to secure a spot themselves. Now, it got surprisingly cold at night on the high seas, which is something I didn't know about and I didn't really plan for since, you know, all our luggage was in the hull. So I was just stuck in short shorts and apparently with my dick hanging out, so I was very cold. Now, there was obviously a lot of water lapping up onto the deck, and any smart person would have quickly claimed, you know, the few dry spots on the ground, but I'm an idiot, and instead I focused on doing this. At this point, it was getting really cold.
It does
and
look
all
like
the good
they are
sleeping
having
spots were
fun
taken,
despite
but
all
I
of the
managed to get creative and
disadvantages.
realized I could sleep on the edge of this wooden pallet if I just kind of squeezed myself under the ropes that were holding the stack of solar panels in place. And after a night of sliding back and forth and like constantly waking up to my head hitting the edge of the boat, you know, the sun was shining, and it was our turn to cook for everyone, and I love cooking. Honestly, I felt pretty great. for a couple of minutes. It turns out what I was tasting in that moment was stomach bile, and I'd completely emptied my insides. Now, it had been about 24 hours on the boat at this point, and I somehow convinced myself that I had some kind of like genetic immunity to seasickness, but I mean, obviously I was wrong.
Yeah.
Either that or like the stress of the trip had cultivated some kind of reverse bulimia where I had to vomit everything out before I could eat a meal.
So hungry, I vomited everything.
Just in time, hey?
But I couldn't keep any food down. Once the seasickness set in, it was actually horrible. Like, it was so bad. It felt like it felt like you were hungover and like super dizzy, but you're also forced to be on like this 600-kilometer long roller coaster. And it's not like one of those cool roller coasters where you get to have fun and kiss. It's like a roller coaster where you also have to do chores the whole time. Like even just getting a cup of water is so hard. Like it involves like tightrope walking and like washing dishes and squats. It was actually fucked. Like I was just counting down the 72 hours until we landed, just praying it would all stop. And I guess my wish kind of came true because it was that moment that the engine died. It turns out it was probably a faulty alternator. So everyone was scrambling for solutions, right? Like some people were trying to jerry-rig one of the solar batteries that we were taking to Cuba, while other people tried to set up an old generator to power the battery. And I was trying to address the issue by just continuously vomiting over the edge of the boat, but none of that fixed the alternator. So we were all out of ideas. We were just stuck there, just floating aimlessly in the middle of the ocean for hours and not getting any closer to Cuba. But it was kind of nice. I mean, without the deafening noise of the engine, it was a little bit easier to just lie perfectly still and ignore the seasickness. I kind of feel like I reached a level of zen in that moment because I didn't realize at all that we were about to be boarded by the military.
Dude, that's crazy. I didn't know that they actually got boarded by the military. I thought that they just made it there, like, safe and clear. I'm curious now.
I woke up, tried to work out what was happening, but everyone I spoke to was confused. I went to my laptop and realized that my very special strategy of uploading everything online was a complete failure. I had like half a terabyte of footage and literally none of it was uploaded. I should have guessed by the fact that it took about an hour to just like check the news every day, but yeah, my footage wasn't backed up anywhere. Obviously, you are watching the footage right now, so yeah. I guess I managed to save it somehow. But in the moment, I thought it was game over. So for the sake of immersion, I need you to pretend that you're not watching this video right now. You're thinking about this happening.
Okay, we're on the boat. We're on the boat with them, chat. We're on the boat with him. We're on the boat. We don't know what's going on.
What do you reckon? It look friendly?
I think it's smiling.
I don't understand what's happening. He's like a shark. He came from that side.
Okay, he's like shitting himself all the rest of the time, but now when this comes up, no poop mentions. What's going on?
Now he's coming around there, and it looks like he's going to turn around this way as well. Just circling us until we get hungry and beg for mercy.
Thankfully, it was a false alarm. It turns out the captain had sent out a distress signal when the motor broke, and since we were in Mexican waters, a Mexican Navy ship came by to help us out. And
Jebaited. We got jebaited, chat.
And after an hour or so,
I believed it there for a second.
The engine was back on. Now, this would have been a relief because it meant we were back on track to arrive in Cuba in 3 days, but I had a chat with one of the Mexican Navy guys, and he said something completely different.
The Navy man just said if we need 5 days to get to Cuba, and our crew says we need 3, and we have like half a alternator.
So it might be 3 days, but it also might be 5, and also it might be even longer depending on how many times we break down and whether we can fix the problem at all. And the entire time I'll either be vomiting or worrying about dying or going to jail. Like, I kind of felt like I was in hell.
So on the day before interception came, the boat I was on Sumut Flotilla broke 4 times.
Four times?
4 times engine failures. And when the engine stopped, it would be a noise like beep.
Oh.
So it was easy.
So this is easy?
Nah, it's not easy, but it's something like you kind of get used to. And if you want the mission to keep on moving, you just gotta take a light mood and work with it. Make it work again.
Yeah, you don't really have a choice.
But look, whatever
when you're in a situation, you have like 2 options. You can either be miserable or you can try to flow with it. Generally, flowing with it makes it so much easier.
For the whole trip, obviously, it wasn't working. So I thought, I might try this like weird new South American thing called being happy.
That'd be cool. Just a second. My table just broke.
I got to tell you, man, this new strategy was working out surprisingly well until nighttime, because it was my turn on the roster to stay up and stand guard as the night watchman. You see, on the Gaza flotilla, they'd get attacked by drones at night, dropping bombs, starting fires, or even spraying weird, like, harsh chemicals. It was up to me to wake everyone up if we were being attacked. But here's the problem, right? You look at this light in the sky, and you tell me whether that's a star, or a passenger plane, or a drone about to bomb us. Like, the sky is full of these things, and there's no decision that I can make here that isn't incredibly embarrassing, right? Either I'm the idiot who woke everyone up because he saw a star, or I'm the idiot who didn't warn everyone that we were about to get bombed. It was kind of shit either way, but I guess maybe it didn't matter. Like, I realized if I do get hit by a drone strike, I won't even know what happens. You know, I'll just be gone. It kind of made me wonder if any of the fishermen over the past year have been in this exact same spot, thinking the exact same thing, like thinking they might be seconds away from being hit. You know, they're thinking about their family and all the things they've done in their life, and just, you know, praying that God will accept them into the crystal clear waters. And
my table literally just broke. It's gonna make playing Meccha Chameleon just a little bit harder. Hopefully I'm not too loud or annoying right now. Let me just check my... Yeah, it's all right. Okay, we're good. We're good. That was unexpected. It literally just broke in half. My computer thankfully is okay, but all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the arm for my microphone just went, and so we're doing this now. So I don't know how this is gonna work with Meccha Chameleon, because I need both my hands to play Meccha Chameleon. We'll figure it out. We're gonna continue watching the video for now, though.
Sunny skies of fisherman's heaven. Like, it's funny to look back at it now, but I honestly thought I was gonna die and I'm here. Like, it's fucking crazy. Like, this video was such a massive risk. Like, not just for my own life, which, you know, I'm very attached to, but even just the fact that, you know, chances are we'd get intercepted and I wouldn't even have any of this footage at the end anyway. And the only way I can actually take these risks is thanks to our supporters on our Patreon. Thanks
Ethical
to you
reacts,
guys, I
chat.
can take these
Ethical
bigger
reacts.
risks and make more important videos, right? And because I know the community is going to have my back if anything goes wrong. And outside of that, this is by far the most expensive video I've ever filmed. It costs a stupid amount of money to pull this off. So if you want to help us out with future videos like this, jump on the link in the description, and just for $5 a month, you can get a full-length exclusive video every month. Even if you hate me, it's worth $5 a month just to convince me to, you know, keep trying to kill myself. So it's a win-win for everyone.
Well, don't do that. I personally find Boy's videos to be excellent, like, all the time. It's definitely worth $5 a month if you're interested in stuff like that. Don't try to convince him to kill himself, though. I cannot recommend that in any degree. I like this person. I hope they live a long and prosperous life.
Like, you should just do it. Now, the rest of the days on the boat were all jiggled together into one long haze. The sun comes up, it's on one side of the boat, and then a little while later it comes down and it's on the other. You wake up sleeping on a pile of ropes, wearing the same clothes you wore for the past 3 days. You try to distract yourself from the fear by, you know, filling up your day reading, playing Uno. The boat keeps rocking. Your mate Claudio, the 80-year-old Italian journalist, burns himself on the chimney, so you have to make a warning sign. You cook, you eat, you sing. You try to work out if that new ship on the horizon is going to board you. You wash yourself with the dangly exhaust hose that cools the engine. And then you're told we'll be arriving in Cuba tomorrow morning. The sun goes down on one side of the boat, and then it comes up on the other. And you wake up on a soggy gym mat in the same clothes you've been wearing for 4 days. And then you're told you're arriving in Cuba tomorrow morning. And the same thing happens the next morning. I honestly started to think maybe we had already been drone struck and we didn't even realize it, right? We were now in purgatory, and this was just our life for all eternity. Then one night, a bunch of tiny islands pop up on the radar, and in the morning, they pop up on the actual horizon. But, you know, I've been in purgatory today, so I don't fully believe my eyes.
According to this, not in Cuba yet. No land. I don't trust it. I think the Americans are going to intercept us. It's too exciting.
I think that the reason why they're probably okay is because they're going to Cuba rather than going from Cuba to the United States. I think if it was going the other way around, like if they were returning on a boat going towards the United States, then they're much more likely to get bombed. But I think for the most part, they're going to be fine, obviously.
The trap.
Like, there's only the concern about interception.
Make sure these Cuban mountains were real.
You know what this place needs?
What?
A KFC. A KFC and some Trump towers. an Amazon fulfillment center would be nice.
Big AI data center.
I look at that and I see unrealized, potential.
I see potential.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seeing land is so special to me because it means I get to move. A bed, a shower.
My goodness.
Ground that doesn't move. Although I had an earthquake like a few days ago. Like, that one's not so sure. But bed and shower and toilet, definitely gonna happen.
It turns out nothing was definitely going to happen because we just got news that a US ship had just moved to the outskirts of Havana.
You heard about the US ship outside of Havana?
The Pentagon has positioned military assets around Cuba to give Washington a rapid strike option if President Donald Trump orders actions, with the USS Nimitz aircraft carrier strike group anchoring the deployment of the Caribbean. In the Caribbean, the move gives U.S. forces an immediate platform for surveillance, limited strikes, and coercive military pressure against Havana.
Yeah, I'm telling you, if those Americans stop us, I will lose my mind. They could have stopped us at any point in this trip. They could have stopped us before we all threw up. They could have stopped us before we all spent 3 days in our own sweat and piss.
Sleeping outside on a wet floor.
But it turns out Cuba is a really, really long country, so that US ship in Havana will have to wait while we just sail along the coast for another 2 days. Until one night, at 3 a.m., we saw some lights. It was so weird looking at Havana, after staring at the sea for days. It dawned on me that we were actually going to make it now, which was a relief, but it was also incredibly sad.
Algaron.
Havana's
Thank you
enormous,
so much
right?
for the follow. I greatly
Size of this
appreciate
city,
it.
Spanning the entire coastline up to the horizon. I couldn't help but be terrified by the concept that there are millions of people.
Are you
in
having
there
a good Monday
that are
so
living
far?
without the basic necessities of life. Well, I guess at least we made it. This Coast Guard was the first Cuban I spoke to.
One vomited. A lot of people
He asked
did.
if I'd been to Cuba before, and when I told him I came 14 years ago, he immediately told me I probably have a 13-year-old kid here. And I was honestly a little bit embarrassed to know that my kid's first impression of me will be this, a guy that looks like absolute shit, but whatever. We made it back to experience this brutal communist dictatorship once again.
They have a giant statue of Jesus.
Well, maybe it's all going to be okay after all.
Yeah.
We need to look for the things we have in common.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, we all love Jesus. There's a lot of people there. You had your doubts, hey? Yeah, I was so sure I was getting on a boat to nowhere.
No.
Oh, what a horrible thought.
It must be such a relief.
I'm gonna die. Oh, llegamos.
We made it.
Llegamos.
We made it. We made
I was
it.
so excited to finally end the seasickness, but no one told me about the land sickness.
I was so fucking dizzy, man.
It's a wobbly land. This is what happens with a destabilized country.
I was so disorientated and thirsty and confused, but one thing I knew for sure is that these Cuban delegates were about to shake hands with the stinkiest people they've ever met.
Gracias por invitarnos. As soon as I got off the boat, I feel how disgusting and sticky I am. It's like there's just like a different sense of stickiness. But just like 10 seconds ago, I was like, oh, this is normal. As soon as I get on land, I'm like,
part of the marine
I'm covered in
ecosystem.
gel. I'm like a fucking slug.
I feel more like a shell.
Oh, yours is crispy?
Yeah, mine's
wet.
right off.
Mine's so,
Nice, you're going
so
salad.
Ew.
Crazy how much your mind ignores when you're on the boat. Like on land, I need a shit so bad.
I mentioned earlier that we had a teacher and we used to go traveling to places. That would be us. We would go for like weeks at a time, like a week at a time, out into the wilderness to like do like overnight backpack trips or like throughout our wilderness back, like hiking and stuff like that, like overnight hiking and stuff. When we would come back, like you don't notice your own smell, and we would never get to shower out there or anything like that. At best, we get like baby wipes and stuff like that. You don't notice your own smell. Like we would come back to our school, and our school was in like this shared building because it wasn't a traditional school. Everybody would complain. So I can feel their pain. It is one of the worst feelings, but it is one of the best feelings when you finally get to wash that shit off. So I'm sure that they felt amazing the minute that fresh, clean water hit their body.
Like my whole body's just fucking.
Yep.
My body hates me right now.
But it turns out we'd have to wait a few more hours before we could do any of that because all these people had come down at sunrise to welcome us.
That's cool.
When do I get to do a poo? I need to do a poo.
Now, I didn't realize at this point, but we also needed to unload the 30 tons we'd loaded up in Mexico before we could get any relief. But it was done, and we finally checked into our hotel room. We were staying at Hotel Presidente, one of the many kind of affordable state-run hotels in Havana. Now the special thing about this place is that
I don't know if it's the same for Australians as it is for Americans, but if you're an American, you're only allowed to stay at certain hotels in Cuba. I'm not quite sure. I think it's like because of the sanctions and stuff like that. There are certain hotels that you're like permitted to stay at, which is kind of weird because like, why can't you stay wherever in the fuck you want to? What if you have relatives there? You're not allowed to stay at their place? Like, it's crazy sauce.
the US
or
government won't let
friends,
you
like,
stay
you
here
can't
if
do
you're a
that.
US citizen. You have to go to a private hotel, or else you could face up to a penalty of 10 years in prison and $1 million fine.
Yep.
But I'm Aussie, so I don't have to worry about that. All I need to worry about now is having a shit in a
I wonder what
shower.
it's like for
And
Canadians.
even though the energy crisis meant that there was no hot water and occasionally there was no water at all, it was still 1,000,000 times better than the boat, and I felt relaxed for like the first time in a week. Until I checked my phone.
You know what the Pentagon's new operation for Latin America is called? Operation Total Extermination. What the fuck? Operation Doing What the Devil Says. Why would you call it that?
Totally, it's not very diplomatic.
Makes you a little bit scared being here. I'm like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
Total extermination, but I'm here.
It's just so lame, hey? It's just so obviously just a computer game playing kid.
Yeah.
Has suddenly too much power. You know?
Yeah.
But if I thought the
That's a
news
good
on my
description
phone
of
was
Donald
bad,
Trump.
it was even worse on Dan's phone when he tried to access his bank account.
You're blocked from online services because you're in a sanctioned country or region. And then I'm like, oh, well, like I need to buy a sandwich. See details. We are obliged to manage our international sanctions risk. So you cannot buy
That's
a
crazy.
That's so
You
nuts
can't even
that a
spend your
random
own
fucking
money.
Australian bank will just like get rid of your account.
Yeah.
If you do anything
You
here.
cannot do anything. And then I'm like, okay, cool. Well, I'll go and get a.
I wonder if it works with a VPN.
A VPN thing.
Yep.
And then look, like I try to download this one.
Won't work.
The App Store is unavailable in the country.
There you go. There you go, chat. If you are ever traveling to Cuba, make sure that you download a VPN before you go. It's not guaranteed to work, but it might actually get you access to your finances when you're there. And when you go to Cuba, it is highly suggested that you bring like cash, and both in your currency as well as in Cuban currency, just because, you know, it might be difficult to make the exchange and stuff like that.
I can't.
That way you're always covered.
VPN, all I want is a sandwich and sanction.
That sucks for you, dude.
Why don't you spot me something? Come on.
I got my VPN on time.
Come on, just a little bit.
You gotta look
you're
at it.
complicit in this.
Cuba's a communist country. That's why things are so bad right now. I'm gonna learn from Cuba's mistakes.
You're just sanctioning me as
No,
well.
you know what? I think the value of money to you is actually so much more than it is to me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna loan you the money. If you want $5 now, you have to give me $50 in a month.
Right. It's like a World Bank loan.
Yeah. You have to change. You have to restructure some of this stuff.
A little bit of changes. I'd like you to organize your wallet.
Yeah.
A little bit of financial management.
Now, to be fair, even if Dan was allowed to access his bank account, pretty much all the ATMs are down because of the energy shortages. So since I'm the guy who, you know, took out money before the trip and, you know, I need Dan to hold the camera and not be dead, I decided I won't let him starve for now. But anyway, the rest time was over and we had to find our way to the hospital to hand off all the aid that we brought. So the problem was that the hospital was like 10 kilometers away and it's incredibly difficult to get a taxi with barely any fuel in the country. But luckily, with the help of a world famous soccer player called Xi Jinping, Cuba set up a factory just outside of Havana pumping out thousands of these electric tuk-tuks, you know, in response to the US cutting off all fuel from the country.
Which is really smart.
It was pretty strange getting our first actual glimpse of Cuba.
I can't remember where else it was that had like a renewable energy revolution, but I feel like this is going to put Cuba like ahead of so many places with their renewable energy because they don't have a choice. And thank God, because imagine if like this, like they've been living with this for quite some time now. we didn't always have renewable energy. So this is quite like a new thing, that so it's not surprising that the electric cars and everything like that, like solar panels and things of that nature, aren't everywhere. So aid like this is definitely helpful, because they also brought solar panels along with food and like resources and things of that nature. But yeah, like I think that Cuba is going to have its own renewable energy revolution, and I think that's going to be great for them, because then they won't be so concerned about like what America's doing. Obviously they'll still be concerned, but it'll like lessen the burden at least a little bit.
The streets were so empty compared to 14 years ago, and because the fuel blockade made driving nearly impossible, you had to go for all these weaker vehicles that used renewable energy, like these 2 horsepower tuk-tuks or this 1 horsepower horse. But we finally arrived to this children's hospital that specializes in cardiovascular care, and it honestly felt surreal seeing all this aid reach its destination. And something tells me the nurses couldn't believe it either. For the past couple of months, all I could think about was this flotilla, but somehow the only thing I actually thought about was the flotilla as a political stunt, right? Getting on the boat and exposing to the world that the US is killing people through their blockade of Cuba, and hopefully, inspiring people and governments around the world to take action. But I didn't actually think about the real people that are going to receive the aid that we're bringing. Like, there are children in this hospital whose lives are going to be dramatically affected by this, 30 tons of food, medicine, and solar panels that we filled our little boat with. And honestly, I hadn't thought about the real world impact of that.
You've done something marvelous. We need it. We really need it. Oh God, we need it. I found out you guys were coming 2 days ago, and it felt like I woke up from a nightmare. Thank you for coming, guys. We really need it. Look, it's not like about aid or anything. Sorry, excuse me. Ah! Sorry, it went by too quickly. Thank you guys. You really did it. Look, it's not just about the aid that you brought, but you've taken a big risk coming here. Later, when you get home, you might create problems for you and try to put you in prison. You can't put a price on what you've done. Thank you for what you're doing. You've inspired us to continue fighting. You can't even imagine
seeing where all our aid was going, but it felt like a drop in the water. The hospital was running out of everything, from like medications to medical machines to simple things like gauze and bandages.
In a normal hospital in any other country in the world, they make the report or say this equipment broke. The private sector comes and says this part costs this much, and you order it immediately. In our case, it's not like that. We have to make a contract to see if selling it to Cuba is prohibited because of the blockade, which is insane. I feel like prohibiting like access to medical care in any sort of regard should be considered some sort of war crime. I know that the United States is not declaring itself as like it's got to be some sort of like human rights violation. That's what I mean. It should be considered a human rights violation. There should be no blockade on like medical equipment, because what purpose is there except to erroneously punish people who are in such a vulnerable state that they need a hospital? It's insane. So everything becomes more expensive and takes much longer than any country in the world because of this situation. We do open heart surgeries here. For that, you need a lot of stable resources. If we don't have the blockade, it would be fast as possible. We have the money in the bank, but we can't use it because there are banks in a lot of countries that do not accept transactions from Cuba.
But lacking supplies and equipment is just like one of the many issues that they have to deal with here.
It's simple fact of not having fuel. In order to pump the water in a city, or to have a steady water supply in a hospital, you know what that means? It's a huge health and hygiene problem. We have to be very mindful of fuel usage. For example, there is a part of the hospital where it is impossible to turn on the power. Like the outpatient clinic area and so on. Because fuel has to be saved for the intensive care unit. With serious illness, ill patients in critical conditions. Seriously ill patients in critical conditions, sorry, excuse me. And it's necessary to keep the hospital functioning for the care of the patients. Being strangled by the blockade doesn't just impact us in that way. It also impacts the staff who work here. Our staff comes to work with thousands of problems, and they leave with those problems at home. They face immense difficulty. They do it consciously. Because the money they make during the crisis is not enough to guarantee everything they need. And those things are now becoming scarce. The truth is, we're working like we're a country at war. This girl from the countryside. So she had to travel very far, and getting transport is very difficult. Sometimes there's no fuel to transfer the patients here.
After seeing it in person, I really don't understand how anyone's surviving here. I mean, the blackouts mean that the doctors have to operate the respirators by hand throughout the night. Like, it doesn't make any sense. I can't actually see how they're going to keep this going over the next few days, like, let alone months or years. But the wild part is, even in the middle of this crisis, Cuba's still dedicated to making life-saving care available to everyone.
All the all the tests. I haven't had to pay a single peso. Everything is free. That's amazing. And so the doctor's attention is good. I can't even explain. It makes up for the bad times we're going through with our children's situation.
I mean, the fact that they still managed to keep healthcare free during this humanitarian crisis made me feel a little bit hopeful, right? Until I stepped outside and got a taste of reality. It turned out that one of the members of our flotilla, Tiago, had been arrested while flying home on his connecting flight in Panama.
Shit. That sucks.
The interrogation is so funny when, like, the entire thing is broadcast almost live, you know? Like, what were you doing? It's like, well, there's documented the entire time. Yeah.
I think this guy's been arrested
right
multiple
after that,
times.
we heard that the other two boats from earlier in the video were meant to arrive today, but they had completely vanished on the high seas.
Just on the phone with the Mexican authorities, they're launching like a search and rescue thing because no one knows where the two sailboats went.
Holy.
Oh no.
So they are trying to find them.
But is there a worry that something happened?
We just don't know.
It might just be taking
don't know.
some time.
But there was literally nothing we could do about either of those things, but, you know, sit and be scared. So we decided to walk around the hospital, and we bumped into this nice Swiss man, Franco Caval. He happens to be one of the best oncologists in the world. Like this man wrote the textbook on medical oncology. No, it was him. I checked. He's the guy who wrote it. As a world-renowned oncologist, he's particularly upset that Cuba is, blocked off from accessing vital cancer medications that he helped create, right? So he spends much of his free time visiting Cuba and trying to help, but he struggles to find any European company that dares to do business with Cuba because they're so scared of the Americans.
Dactinomycin is an important drug in the treatment of many cancers in children.
Cuba was buying that.
In the past. Oh, he might be speaking English.
Worldwide 3 companies producing that. 2 of the companies were bought by the third one, which is an American company. So for years, children with cancer in Cuba didn't have that drug because the US company didn't sell that. So that's one example, but there are very many.
But it's not just humanitarian doctors like Franco that visit Cuba. Apparently, Western big pharma CEOs are coming here too.
They were a little bit interested because Cuba has an important research part.
Yeah.
And they have developed also a couple of interesting drugs, which were then bought by Western companies. I know from a very important CEO of a very important pharmaceutical company who came incognito to Cuba. Nobody was allowed to tell that he was going
Oh my God.
to see what they are searching for.
So I'm standing there on the street talking to a world-renowned cancer researcher, and he's telling me that, you know, big pharma executives are entering Cuba secretly to like collaborate on research projects without the US government knowing. But it's all just kind of like difficult to believe, right? How does a Caribbean country, you know, it's blocked off from trading with the world, how do they become a biomedical powerhouse making insane discoveries like, you know, the world's only meningococcal B vaccine and luring big pharma execs with these breakthroughs? And, you know, all the other Caribbean countries, they're still stuck researching who that guy was who let the dogs out. It just doesn't make sense. So the next day, we decided to visit the Neuroscience Institute to see how it's possible that Cuba's pumping out all these medical breakthroughs under siege. Now, this institute was on the other side of town, so we were facing the same problem we'd face multiple times a day in Cuba, finding transportation. Now, after being
even
on
if you
land for
walk
so long,
there,
I was honestly
you
missing
have to walk the
diesel
same
fumes of the
distance
boat
back.
engine.
So if it's like
I
29
decided to splurge
kilometers,
to get a real petrol taxi to take us to the institute. And we're going there with our mate Daniel. He's a Cuban journalist working for the independent media outlet Belly of the Beast. They do awesome documentaries and on-the-ground reporting in a place that's always like so saturated
Belly of
with fake
Beast.
news from mainstream
It's great.
media. So you can check them out in the video description. Now, Daniel joined our project as a producer, which is, you know, a stressful job at the best of times, but he was also doing it under the constant threat of being bombed by a foreign country.
Realizing that your future, the future of those around you, ends up
just a second.
on, you know,
That message was too long for me to read on my phone. Cairo says Cuba's world-class medical sector wasn't just a social decision, but an economic one. By investing in prevention, they're saving on treatment and all the effects of illness in productivity, fertility rates, and combat readiness. A penny spent on prevention is $1 saved in all other aspects. Yeah, like that's one of the things that, I mean, what am I talking about? The US, like in the US, the reason why they have things the way that they have is because they're so money hungry, right? Like it's obvious, but like, yeah, it's true. The more that you put into preventative care, if you have those funds, if you're in a place that you don't have universal health care for, the more you will save in the long run, especially as you get older. Like one of the biggest tax like burdens financially for older people is healthcare, right? Like especially in the US. I feel like one of the reasons why Trump probably hates Cuba is because they have free healthcare, but that's just a speculation. I think that Trump is just a racist, honestly. I think that Trump is just a racist bigot who hates people who do anything differently than him. You know, this whole claim that, you know, it's because of like drugs that they're sanctioning Cuba and, you know, it's communism and all this other stuff is just bullshit, quite frankly, especially given Trump like pardoned one of his lackeys for doing exactly the same thing. I genuinely believe that most of this is just driven by racism and greed, quite frankly. But yeah, like 100%, like Cuba has some of the most like amazing medical I forgot the word, but like inventions and innovations going on, and they help so many freaking people. Like Cuba deserves so much better than what it is getting right now. It has created, like it was discussed previously, groundbreaking cancer treatment for children, which the US is blocking access to despite the fact that it was developed in Cuba. Like it's crazy how they are being treated. It's absolutely atrocious. That's one of the reasons why I really enjoy videos like this. Like if I had the opportunity to go on the flotilla, I freaking would. I think that would be an amazing life experience. It would be so fulfilling and so worth it. America is investing on reproductive oppression by progressively outlawing abortions, and birth control. That way, if workers die sooner and produce less, they have spare workers. Yeah, I don't even think, like, I don't know, part of me thinks that America doesn't even really care to keep its new workers alive. Like the way that companies pay employees, it feels like they literally just want to pay the employees long enough to live for the time that they're working for the companies. And yeah, like people are just churn in America. They don't, like, I don't think that any of the government, very few people, in the American government actually value, people like Zoran Mamdani, AOC, who else is there? Bernie Sanders, people like them. They actually seem to care about the American people, but everybody else, by and large, they don't really give a shit.
Individual decisions of people that.
Yeah, like who was it recently? Jeff Jeff Bezos? I don't know. Bezos, he was like, because of data centers, he's like, humans are drinking too much water. We need it for data centers. That's how little these people care about it. They care because they need to reinvest in domestic production. Yeah, now and the world is shredding the American shackles. I hope so. I mean, I was talking earlier about how tourism is down from Canada to the US by about 65% in at least Massachusetts. And you guys, I don't know if you're actually from America. What am I talking about? And like people down there, sorry for accusing you of being American, are feeling the pinch. And I'm like, I wonder how much travel overall to the United States for luxury travel is down, because you're from Brazil. I should have known. I'm so sorry, Kairos. I'm so sorry. I should never have said you were American. For shame. I'm so sorry. Brazil sounds beautiful, by the way. Is it nice there? It must be. Is it cold there right now, or is it hot there right now? I'm South American. Yeah, but is it cold there right now, or is it hot there right now? Because the tilt. You're South America. I guess I'm technically North American, so I guess we're technically all Americans. We're just not from America. Thank goodness. I'm glad to be North American. You were like our shoes. I'm not in Brazil. Never mind me. Your commentary is more interesting. Okay, no problem. No, just relax and enjoy the video.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's daunting.
Yeah, sounds terrifying.
The idea of violence and the idea of an armed invasion running through my mind. You know, I keep having nightmares about it.
Yeah.
If they start bombing,
yeah,
I'm dead. A lot of people are aware that this is a real possibility, and those.
I was saying earlier, I was trying to predict what the likelihood of Trump invading Cuba was this year, and I'm putting it at 0 this year. Okay, I put it at 5% potential for Trump invading Cuba this year, but I don't think that they would bomb. I think that they would probably send troops on the ground, like feet on the ground. I don't think that they would bomb, but like it doesn't really matter either way. That, or they're just going to try and annex it by putting more pressure on them, although I don't know how they could. They're literally starving children on a regular basis. Like, it just makes them so similar to Israel in that regard. It's ridiculous.
Like, thinking it like that, it'd be like, there's not a single one that would say, hey, yeah, sure, they should bomb Havana.
Come on, video.
You know, that's not a thing. Like,
fix yourself. There we go.
That tells you, sure, I hope the government changes, right? But bombs and bullets, they have no names. You know, once the shooting starts, no one's stopping to say, oh, let's see if this guy was a communist.
After that fun chat in the taxi, we finally got the Neuroscience Institute.
Even if you're a communist, you don't deserve to just be bombed.
Don't panic if there's a
hot
power
take.
cut. Okay. The elevator will have no problem, and we'll just wait.
We can do the interview in the elevator.
All right, yeah.
Perfect.
This was the very first medical equipment manufactured in Cuba. A Cuban computer.
It turns out Cuba became a research hub thanks to this computer and a guy called Irwin Roy John, the father of quantitative electroencephalography.
Okay, Irwin Roy John was born in Brownsville, Pennsylvania, United States during the Great Depression. He was a union organizer in an airplane plant. Oh, interesting. His attendance at City College of New York was interrupted by World War II, where he volunteered and served in the Battle of the Bulge. After the war, he attended University of Chicago, earning a BA in physics and a PhD in psychology. He began work on brain research at UCLA and later founded research laboratories at the University of Rochester and at the Flower Fifth Avenue Hospital. He was also a professor of psychiatry at NYU and a research scientist at the Nathan S. Klein Institute for Psychiatric Research. His work led to more than 25 patents in medical technology. Wow, that's amazing.
And neurometrics. And look, I don't
especially
know
if you're one.
I was standing in front of a world-renowned scientist, so I'm
not in Brazil.
Now, Irwin Roy John wasn't a
Yeah, you don't deserve to be bombed just because you're a communist. That's absolutely ridiculous.
Fan of Big Pharma, and he was a massive fan of Cuba's universal healthcare system because, he's interested in treating people and not just making products for a company to sell to the highest bidder. So he wanted to do his research here.
Irving Roy John was fired up with this idea, and he said, I'm going to bring to Cuba some computers with my software for studying the electrical activity of the brains. Of course, when he asked, for the permit, whatever, to export it, they said, oops, that's trading with the enemy. In the meantime, Fidel had talked to the university professors and asked them, you guys can make a computer? He said, we can. And looking at the user's manual, they started deducing, if this does this, it has to work in this way in the inside, on the plane. When Roy returned, ashamed, I wasn't able to convince the US government. We said, nope, we have our own computer.
We sorted that.
And that was how the Neuroscience Institute was started.
That's
now,
crazy.
The research Irwin Roy John did here led to breakthroughs like this. And trust me, I Googled it.
That went way too fast to read. Sorry, guys.
Understand it, but they're definitely breakthroughs. And in Cuba, these insights were used to test every child in the country for neurological disorders like epilepsy for free. And in the US, these same breakthroughs are used to, charge parents upwards of $22,000 if they want to know if their kid has epilepsy. So it's no wonder Roy John opted to do his world.
$22,000? $22,000. How can it cost $22,000 to get this work done? Like, nurses and doctors aren't even paid that freaking much. Hospitals are raking in dough like crazy. And insurance companies also, because they play a massive role too. Like, it's insane. I don't get the US healthcare system. It boggles my mind every freaking day, right? Like, that's one of the things. Hi, Fun Size Mama. Welcome in. That's one of the things that I think about when I think about traveling to the US to go and visit people or try to find like family and stuff like that. Is like, I'm scared of getting like even a hangnail there because like what happens if I end up injured? I'm not going to be able to afford that. I don't know how anybody in the States can. Like, their system of insurance is basically just a gambling scam because you have no idea whether or not the insurance that you're paying for literally decades is going to end up denying you the care that you thought that you were guaranteed, but it's not. Like, people are like, even if it costs you an extra like $200 a month now for like publicly funded healthcare, I feel like you would, the fact that you were guaranteed to be able to go to a doctor, whatever doctor you want to, whenever you freaking need to, would be worth that expense. Although I also understand that the vast majority of the American population, 60%, are living paycheck to paycheck, can't really afford that. So it's kind of easier for me to say this than it is for them. But at the same time, like, if you tax the rich appropriately, you wouldn't have to worry about that. It only costs like a couple of $1 billion a year, and it's like drastically less than what the Iran war costs. Like, it blows my, like, I just don't get the logic behind the way that they fund things and the way that they, manage their money. It feels so irresponsible all the time. I don't know how the US became world leaders, given it is just so chaotic in the way that they manage things and the way they prioritize what they fund things on. Like, Trump's stupid freaking ballroom, that could have gone to help a whole bunch of other people, except it's coming out of taxpayers' like pockets, and they don't even get to benefit from it. It's just some sort of like weird, I don't know, like, the United States is some weird dystopian country that I just don't understand the appeal of anymore.
Renowned research in Cuba, even though he knew full well that he would be blacklisted by the US government.
During this period, he became intensely involved in the movement against the Vietnam War and began a series of visits to Cuba, where he is regarded as the grandfather of Cuba neuroscience. Files he obtained through the Freedom of Information Act gave credence to charges that he had been blacklisted from a range of professional activities and granted grants due to his left of center views.
Doing it. Cuba is the only country in the world that had to develop everything themselves. From the ventilators that saved countless lives during COVID to screening devices for newborns and hearing aids, which by all accounts should be almost impossible to do. Like even in a country like the US, right? One of the biggest biomed industries in the world, they still rely heavily on global supply chains for all their medical treatments, right?
It is clear that the United States is heavily reliant on other countries for medical products, including China, India, and the European Union, Mexico, and Canada. Whether a finished medical product is manufactured in the United States, Germany, or China, it is likely that the product is composed of component parts, active pharmaceutical ingredients, excipient glass vials, device components that were manufactured by different firms in various countries.
No country can function without accessing the things that the rest of the world produces.
Yeah.
But cutting off Cuba from the world isn't just cruel to this island nation of 10 million people.
There are people that feel, we're blackout, people that feel.
It's also cruel to everyday Americans who can't access any of Cuba's medical
This guy just
breakthroughs,
keeps
such as,
going.
treating
Oh my
early
God,
onset
blackout
Alzheimer's
used to
or
that.
healing diabetic
Oh my
ulcers without
God.
having to
Oh yeah, that was
amputate
Luigi
organs, which affects
Mangione.
you. No, the person watching this, it affects you directly. Like, you've been sitting here watching it for over an hour now, and that means that you're much, much more likely to develop type 2 diabetes.
Tens of thousands.
The large amount of time people spend sitting inactive may have a significant psychological consequence hazardous to human health. Consequence hazardous to human health, including risks for type 2 diabetes and poor metabolism of lipids and glucose. So make sure that you get up and stretch and move around and stuff like that. Cairo says, because imperialist countries' economies are inside out, their foreign policy is their source of wealth. The local population exists as a consumer market, and a local industry is designed mostly around service. Yeah, 100%. Like, I feel like that's kind of true for most places. I don't know any economy that doesn't really function that way. I don't know how else the economy we have right now could really function. I mean, it could function much better. We could tax appropriately, have better services for the humankind and stuff like that. But most places are too scared for some reason that companies will pull out of places. But if we have a global movement like we sort of have seen with the whole vote, online ID nonsense, yeah, most economies work the other way around. Really? I don't know. Canada feels like that. It feels like we're mostly just here to buy and shit. But if we had taxes and stuff, but we're too scared to tax. But if we had a global movement like we do with having the child ID online stuff going on and things of that nature, we could actually make that effect. Yeah, the West is only 30% of the world. That's true. Fair enough. I'm not very familiar with how India's economy works and things of that nature, so I should shut my mouth. You're fair. You're right. Fair.
Amputation in the U.S. and all over the world. The cooperation between the U.S. and Cuba could save, from amputation, dozens of thousands of people a year. There's no right to harm a country, but you're also harming your own people. It's absurd. It's absurd.
This US policy of suffocation only really has one explanation.
They don't like the Cuban example. This is fractions of a cent. We provide our people with medicines at extremely low prices. In the US, the whole pharmaceutical industry is profit-driven. And this is the gigantic lobby. So this example of socialized medicine and preventive medicine, it doesn't fit into their profit-driven ideas. And they don't like the Cuban example.
The US has been doing this for the past 60 years, and it's crazy to think that these doctors and researchers are still making scientific advancements with an economic blockade.
The rest of the world is forced into an export-centered economy, selling their local resources. Yeah, we do that for sure. We don't sell it for dirt cheap, but we sell our resources for dirt cheap and buying manufactured goods, often made with these resources for higher prices. Yeah. Where would be a good example of that? Probably Africa. America is doing the buying. But it does a lot of importing too. And Europe. America and Europe are the same. Canada is like that. We export our oil for I don't know why we don't refine it here. I have to look more into that. Importing, yes, but not exporting. True. You guys you're not American, you're Brazilian. They would like to export, though. Isn't that one of the issues that they're having with Canada, is that we don't import enough of their goods and stuff like that, and there's a trade deficit? Which, if you don't manufacture anything, I feel like there's always going to be a trade deficit. That's one of Trump's arguments, at least that I've heard.
and rolling blackouts. And we were about to experience a really big one that night.
What does the US export? I know that like they want their booze back on our shelves, but what else does they do except for a little bit of oil? They don't really have that much, do they? They don't manufacture anything. The global south exports their raw resources, minerals, produce, seeds. Yeah, Canada does exports of that stuff too. I don't know if we have a whole lot of minerals, but we do like produce and like a lot of dairy. I don't think we do a lot of booze. Lots of oil. We have like lots of oil. Alberta is our main oil fields, if you're unaware here.
While we were having beers with our 80-year-old friend Claudio at the hotel.
How often do I get... Whoops, sorry guys.
The hotel.
Now, how do I get to my room on the 10th floor?
It was pretty freaky, but sadly this was business as usual for the Cubans, and everyone was ready with emergency torches and emergency orchestral instruments.
Is someone just playing the flute outside in the middle of the blackout? Oh, there's a car coming. Someone's got a light. This would be creepy if it wasn't for the flautist.
It turns out some people are even more prepared than the flute player.
Yeah, American and the West in general buy those and use them in high-end manufacturing. Like the minerals and resources or the oil and stuff.
And they have their own backup generators.
Will our key cards... Oh, there we go. Hey, nice. I was wondering if our key cards will open the lock to the door.
Now, we've never been in a citywide blackout before,
just a second. So they buy minerals to turn them into oil, then into vehicles, for example. Yeah. But there's not that much manufacturing in the United States, is there? Most of it is like overseas, isn't it?
We took this opportunity to...
Like that's one of the major complaints of Donald Trump. Like we need to bring manufacturing back to the United States. And then they put on tariffs on everything, despite the fact that that's not really how tariffs should work. Electric car factories remain active in America? I guess that one's newer.
Scope it out. Occasionally you'll stumble upon a private business that managed to get a backup generator going, but
in California,
I can't imagine going multiple days.
We have like so many electric cars in my like little area. Like it was crazy. Like it was literally a culture shock when I moved from like the big city to my small city that I'm in right now. But the components are built mostly in China. Yeah, that's what I thought. Like I don't know if they do all the manufacturing there. America just assembles them. Yeah, that makes more sense. Oh my God, we put like that's something that I think about with like electronics and things like that. Unless we somehow find an alternative, like it won't happen for like centuries and centuries if it happens at all. But like, what happens when we run out of the material to build like computer parts and things like that? Like, what will we do? Will we just have like the Dark Ages again, or will we somehow have like at that point figure out a way to develop like electronics in a different way? Because gold is an important component in manufacturing electronics, isn't it? Or maybe it's like some sort of material that is not infinite, it's finite.
A week. I mean, we barely found our way home.
Less and less assembly is done over there, actually. In the United States or overseas?
Even worse.
But I'm sorry, I'm using the wrong term. Not manufacturing, but like the recycling in the US, yeah. But the the first production part of it, I forgot the word.
Our two boats were still missing.
It's quite scary. And then you think of all those songs we were singing
about dying at sea. Yeah. Yeah, I don't like that.
Yeah, I hope they're okay.
Yeah, and I think the thing that kind of got me today.
I mean, the answer to your concern is recycling of electronics. Yeah, but that can only last like so long, right? We're nowhere near that, though, I think. Yeah, we're not anywhere close to that, but I was thinking about that the other day. I was like, what happens when we run out of these resources? Because, like, I was thinking about, like, how many people just, like, throw out their electronics and stuff when they die and things of that nature, and we only recently started recycling. It's like, would we start mining for, like, in trash for, like, electronics and stuff like that to salvage? Like, what would it be like?
Yeah. Just wait and see and hopefully they come down to that harbor over there at the end of this street, and then we go give them big hugs.
Now, to get our mind off of our potentially dead friends, we decided to, talk to some people whose lives were comparatively worse to make us feel better. So we...
If we still exist as a species, yeah, that was another consideration. I was like, I wonder if we'd even get there. Sometimes I wonder if we'll even get out of this like century, but like that's really pessimistic. If we still exist as a species or civilization by then, we'd be doing interplanetary mining. I don't think that I don't know if we're ever gonna get there. I feel like there's such a wage like disparity. Unless something drastic changes in the future, it's gonna be similar to maybe Elysium without like the flying spaceship type thing, if you've ever seen that movie. We won't leave this century as a capitalist majority civilization. Oh yeah, that's like forever away. We can't even get our equal rights like correctly done. You know, the United States can't even get its healthcare properly like implemented, and we're still like constantly going over to war for like ridiculous fucking reasons. Like it's just I have very little faith in humanity. I have very little hope for humanity, not because the general population, but because of those who are in positions of power are just so fucking awful. Like they're just some of the worst freaking people. And somehow they have 50% of the voting populations like vote for it. Like I just don't get it. Like at least in the United States, like I don't know. Some countries seem like they are taking more innovative avenues towards like civilizational growth and things of that nature. And then there's the U.S. and it's just like they're sitting there shitting their pants.
Went to Centro Habana, one of the poorest parts of the city, to see how everyday people were living under the blockade. We thought the best place to start was at the community medical center to speak to Dr. Roxana. She agreed to chat with us about how the community was dealing with the blockade, but I also realized I had an opportunity to get free healthcare, so I wanted to get that sorted first.
Ask whatever you want. I'll be here to answer your questions. Well, firstly, I've got a bit of a cough. Tell him the truth. How much time has he got left? If it's serious, I don't want to know. No, he doesn't want to know. I won't tell him.
One of these community clinics every couple of blocks in Cuba, and they're actually community doctors, right? They spend half their day in the clinic like a normal GP, then they spend the rest of their day going around doing routine checkups at people's houses. So your average Cuban will have a GP visit them every 2 weeks for checkups, not just when they're sick, but like all the time. In Australia, we got so much money and resources, but you'll never, like, ever get that amount of attention from a doctor.
Yeah, same here in Canada.
I get 5 minutes with a GP when I'm sick, let alone if I feel perfectly fine.
I had a problem back in Australia about 20 years ago. I was getting sick every month. And I didn't know why. So I went to the doctor, and all we did was lots of tests. But the problem is that I hadn't washed my bed sheets in a year? I'm assuming that he was a child. I'm hoping. You didn't wash your bed sheets for a year? Oh, that's why I was sick every month. But the doctor, he never visited my house, so he didn't know. And that was just an incredible filthy. That's why preventative healthcare is fundamental. Oh my God, that's the good thing. You have to see the patients holistically with everything. You have to see all of it. There's a psychological illness that affects people, the biological illness that destabilizes psychological health. I mean, hygiene is fundamental for all other illnesses, so you have to see all of this whole together. That's the basis for our national health system.
I was honestly amazed by the Cuban health system, and frankly I found it embarrassing that a country with nothing can offer their citizens much more than a rich country like Australia. But this phone call that interrupted us was an instant reminder of the reality of what they're going through under the blockade.
I already gave the last ones I had to the nurse from this bio clinic. I had them.
Barely any medical supplies left in the country, and everyone's just trying their best to get a hold of some.
But we have to wait a few days until next week.
We decided to follow Roxana around that day while she did her house visit, so we could get a better feel of how regular Cubans are dealing with the unfolding humanitarian crisis. The first patient was Glenda, a 79-year-old woman who was diagnosed with diabetes. And after her checkup, she agreed to chat with us about, how she's been dealing with the blackouts.
Is it possible to know where your electricity will cut out? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Most of the time, the electricity companies can't predict when it will happen. For me, it's very difficult to understand how anyone functions under these conditions. No, it's even more difficult to understand how we're all still capable of laughing about it. But it wouldn't be all difficult. For example, if there's no power, how do you cook dinner? Exactly. So here's what we do. When the power comes back on, we have to get up and solve all the problems. Make the beans, do this, do that, whatever. And this could be at 3 a.m., 3 in the morning. It could happen whenever. And when you add water shortages to that, that's the whole other problem. For example, to do our laundry, you have to consider, firstly, that there is water, because even if there is water in the citrine, if there is no electricity to pump it, no. Secondly, the machine will work because it has another story. Thirdly, that they have electricity. You have to all combine all those three things. And sometimes no. The other day I had to washing machines full of clothes 2 days without being able to do laundry.
Glenda was 13 years old when the revolution happened.
Emergency
and
water.
Because she knew how to read and write, as a teenager, she volunteered to go teach in the countryside as part of this, sudden nationwide push to eliminate illiteracy. And what she saw in the Cuban countryside in 1960 broke her.
That's where I realized what capitalism really was. Seeing the peasants without clothes, the children with stomachs full of parasites. The situation was grave, and there was teaching literacy. And where I was teaching, so many people were dying from hunger, and that were reality of the time. That was the reality of the time, excuse me. 2-year-old child died in my arms from asthma. That was a tremendous blow for me. I mean, I have that engraved in my mind. No one can tell me the stories about how good the Americans are, or capitalism. It's all lies, obviously.
I noticed this weird souvenir clock she had on her wall as well. And it turns out she's experienced capitalism more than once. In 2009, the South African government was giving out flights to people who wanted to volunteer in local communities, and she obviously jumped at the rare opportunity to see the world that she'd been locked out of.
In South Africa, I went to a community that was 500,000 people living in shacks with minimal living conditions. It's incredible. And one of the most complicated problems they had was that they couldn't bury the dead because it was very expensive. So the communities had a fund that they had to pay every month, so that when you died, you had money to pay for it. So when they told them, oh, but burial in my country is free. How? Free? Yes, free. It's free. They said, no, here it's not. It was horrible. I don't know how it was like that in America. You take it out. How do you say insurance? You can take out insurance to cover it. God damn. It's very popular in Australia. Dude, insurance is so popular everywhere around the world. Man, just cremate me, man. Cremate me and throw me to the wind like people do in cold, freezing areas where they throw hot water into the air and watch it. Just go, make sure that it doesn't get on you. Don't take me to frickin' Disney World or Disneyland or any place like that. Take me to someplace magical like Greece and just throw me to the wind so I can go and travel everywhere. That would be happy. But he goes on to say there are commercials on TV. You need to have life insurance for when you die. What a horror show. That doesn't exist here? No. Here everything is normal. It's all free. I'll come to Cuba when I want to die. Or I'll do it here. We guarantee you the burial. Don't you worry. Okay, well, we have wherever you need. If you want to have a coffee, come back again. I still have enough. I have enough for 3 days.
Hopefully one day I get to come back and take her up on the coffee, but getting to Cuba wasn't easy. And when I turned on the TV that night, it felt like getting to Cuba was almost impossible. Our missing boats were primetime news in Cuba, and we were starting to get really worried for our friends. But being scared for your friends and family is just a taste of the daily lives of Cuban people who, they're either facing starvation or like a full-on invasion. Like the next news story was about university students training to defend themselves when the US invades. Like there isn't a single part of these people's lives that isn't affected by the blockade. Like from the simplest things like garbage trucks struggling to get, the few drops of fuel left in the country so the streets overflow with rubbish, to completely empty tourist centers. Like literally nothing is coming into this country. But in the middle of all this, the weird part is that life somehow goes on. Like the country's slowly suffocating, right? They're facing a humanitarian crisis on the horizon, but everyone's just trying their best to live their lives in any way they can. Like I spoke to so many people during this trip, and obviously the video was already enormous, so I had to cut a bunch of stuff. But if you want to see the full uncut conversations with everyday Cubans, jump on the Patreon because I'll be uploading all of them there. But the same thing happened in all these conversations, right? I kept trying to do the maths. Like if the average salary is like $20 a month and a bag of rice costs $12, how is it possible that anyone's surviving? And I asked this question to every Cuban I met, and every person had pretty much exactly the same answer. They all told me that they had no idea either. It's crazy. Like a couple of days later, we found out that our friends weren't dead, which is, it's a massive relief. And the rest of our humanitarian aid made it to Cuba. And obviously the Cubans were ecstatic that, someone out there cares about what's going on. But the reality is that what's on those tiny little boats can only go so far. Like things are getting
just a drop in the bucket.
Really bad in Cuba. Like people are dying and everyone else is just living on borrowed time. And this was the point of the blockade for the past 60 years. When enough people starve to death, the Cubans won't have many options left, right? They'll get desperate and they'll eventually dismantle the socialist system they've built. I mean, unless the US gets bored of waiting and invades them first. But either way, the mafia will get their cities back, the plantation owners will get their slaves back, and the US will get their sugar companies back. And the people of Cuba, they can look forward to becoming just like all the other capitalist third world countries around them, like Haiti and Dominica, or even Puerto Rico, right? Which is actually part of the US, but...
Yeah, because even if the US is not going to do anything unless it benefits them, right? And so to think that if they do lift the sanctions and things like that, things will just immediately get better for Cubans is not necessarily true, because the US is probably going to try to capitalize on their opportunity as much as possible and not give a shit about the Cuban people. So that is also something to consider. So if somehow in your lifetime you have the opportunity to go to Cuba because sanctions are lifted and it's now permissible to freely travel within Cuba, I would suggest avoiding anything that has to do with America in Cuba, so that you ensure that you are helping out the Cuban people as much as possible, because I'm sure that recovery will take decades. It's going to take a really long time for the country to reestablish itself and things like that. Like there will be obviously immediate improvements as soon as they're able to get fuel and access to medical stuff like that, because as they said in the documentary, that they have the funds, it's just nobody will sell to them and things of that nature. So yeah, if you ever get the opportunity to go to Cuba because sanctions are lifted and it's easier for you to go, make sure that you only invest in Cuban companies and Cuban organizations and Cuban businesses and locals and whatever you can, and avoid the United States involvement as much as possible.
They haven't had a functioning electricity grid for the past 9 years anyway. These
Jesus.
countries experience some of the worst living
9
standards in the world,
years?
and their lives are about to get much worse because the US recently kicked all the Cuban doctors out of the third world as part of the blockade. So I guess Haiti doesn't have any healthcare now either, and it made me think about all these places from Haiti to Somalia where people can't afford food and everyone's slowly starving to death. In all these places, it's kind of really hard to even work out where to start, right? How do you fix this? Who's going to invest? What would they even build there? Is it going to go to the right people, right? But the tragedy of Cuba is that they've already set everything up on their own. They got world-class healthcare. They've got the infrastructure and the know-how. The only thing we need to do is just stop fucking with them. Literally the only thing the world needs to do is just treat them how we treat any other country in the world, right? Let them buy food, let them buy fuel, let them buy medicine. Just let them sell stuff. I don't know. We just need to be normal. At this point in the video, I'd usually provide a link, right? I want to share a fundraiser for Progressive International that's planning to bring more aid boats to Cuba, but the US has sanctioned them too. So honestly, I don't know what to do. I don't usually say this, but I'm completely out of ideas. It's up to you guys. You need to do everything you can to stop your governments from killing these people.
That was a great video. Excellent. I don't have a lot of time left, so I don't know what we want to do. Do we want to? I feel like this is just a live stream of the Charlie Kirk.
I want to apologize in advance. A lot of the things today kind of got me worked up. And as much as...
Whoopsies. Sorry. That was other Phil. I didn't realize that it autoplays. I don't know how to turn that off. We're not going to watch other Phil today, though. That was from 4 days ago. Okay. We're not going to watch the Gideon situation. I feel like the Charlie Kirk trial. Let's see what it looks like. Is it live right now? I don't think so. $7 hours? Okay, we're going to skip this. We'll watch the Gideon situation. Or we can do a few minutes of Meccha Chameleon. I've got about 45 minutes left, chat, before I have to leave. Let's see. Shall we try Meccha? I'll have to put my mic down. See if anybody else is playing it. Come on, help me. There we go. Come on. Ugh, my computer. There we go. Okay, not you either. I want this one. Thank you. No. Nobody else is playing Meccha yet. We're going to join a public lobby. This is my first time ever playing Meccha Chameleon. Yeah, nobody else is playing Meccha right now. Okay, that's fine. We're going to move to gaming in just a second. It is so hot in here. Holy crap. Meccha Chameleon. Come on, let me play. 15 million sales of Meccha Chameleon. That's crazy. I wonder how much that amounted to. All right, here we go. Just a sec. We're going to switch over to gaming. And then I just have to do this. Properties. No, we want Meccha Chameleon. Okay, and then game capture. Properties. There we go. Okay. This is my first ever playthrough. Please be gentle on me. I just need to grab... Oh my god, why is it so big? Hopefully you can hear it all right. It's because I was playing Alien Isolation, that's why. If you want to play, let me know. I just need to grab some batteries quickly. I'll be right back. Just give me a second. Actually, while we're waiting, I'm going to play the Gideon situation for you guys while I set up properly. Oh my god.
I just watched the Gideon arrest and body cam footage. Zoinks. Oof. Like eating a Burger King meal, that was not good at all. And it's really surprising. When I first heard that Gideon got arrested and that there was body cam footage of it, I just assumed that it was going to be over something wacky, weird, or maybe something trivial, because Gideon works collaboratively with law enforcement from what I've seen. So surely if anyone knew about lawful activity and shit, it would probably be him. So I thought maybe some kind of misunderstanding or, something going just tits up out of nowhere, but ultimately it'd be easy to see where he was coming from and be on his side about it. But after watching the footage, that's just not the case at all. I like Gideon. I've said this quite a bit. He's a reformed prankster, and hallelujah for that, because that is extraordinarily rare. Typically, when someone experiences success like Gideon, who blew up online because of pranks, they stick with that forever. But in Gideon's case, at the
my battery might not be charged enough.
He decided to walk the path
unfortunately.
Of God. He found his faith again.
Just a sec.
And over time decided to make
it seems like we won't be able to play Meccha Chameleon today.
Content.
I'm so sorry. My battery has my batteries are still not charged yet. I did not prepare properly. So we're just going to finish watching this.
Which I think is extremely
so hot.
admirable and something that you just do not see happen.
Today has been chaos. Today has been chaos, man. I've been charging my batteries for like hours and they're still not charged. So we can't play Mecca Chameleon. My table broke, unfortunately. Like everything is chaos. Like the only thing that's gone well is that video. So we're just gonna continue watching videos today. I'm so sorry, guys. I was really looking forward to it. I'll make sure to charge the batteries for Wednesday when we stream again, so then we can play Chameleon then.
Happen, period. And now these days, his content focuses on having predators arrested. So he's worked to.
I don't remember correctly, but I'm pretty sure Gideon himself was a predator. Like, wasn't that like one of the rumors? Don't quote me on that. I'm not sure. I just remember there being like a couple out there in the streaming universe that were like into these like to catch a predator type schemes for their like content and stuff like that. And then they turned out to be predators, which is so weird. Like, why? If you know that you are doing these things yourself, why do you get into trying to catch other predators? Like, why not just stop being a predator yourself?
Catch a lot of really, really evil bad people. And the vigilante predator catching community is something that's blown up online over the years, obviously, and in a lot of cases it's handled extremely poorly, where the predators don't get arrested. They instead just get milked. The content creator latches onto their udders and starts fucking draining their balls of all the piss.
Yeah, so like I remember reading like years ago about these to catch a predator type things, because this isn't new, that police have like mixed feelings about these types of situations, because the vast majority of times like these types of activities don't lead to any sort of conviction of the predator. It just sort of like gets their name out there and then they go back to doing what they're doing, because there's no legal process involved in these types of things, and no like chain of custody. They're not police officers, so cops can't usually use what they have, and it's very, very frustrating for them.
Possible, so they can monetize the shit out of it out the wazoo online without any care for doing it properly and getting them arrested. So they continue to still be a danger to children around them. In Gideon's case, I really felt like, while yes, he is clearly making a lot of money off doing this, he is also handling it in a way where these predators do get arrested. So I know a lot of people criticize like the reason behind it, like are they actually doing it for justice and to try and protect anyone, or is it just for their own financial self-gain? Which is a perspective I can totally understand. That is a very valid thing to be bringing up. I would argue, though, that the good outweighs the bad when it's handled properly and they actually get arrested. So in Gideon's case, I would say that even if the motive has been money, which I'm not entirely sure if that's why he's doing it, I do get a sense that he genuinely cares. The fact that many of the predators that he has investigated has led to actual jail time and arrest, taking them out of positions where they can continue to prey on children, is obviously not the norm. Good thing to get them out of there.
Yeah.
So I do like Gideon, but boy howdy, this arrest in body cam is a very bad look, unfortunately, and it's something that I do want to yap about now that I've become aware of it. Oh, they got him on Code Blue Cam. Famous YouTuber gets himself and all his crew arrested.
Just how far people are willing to go to film content.
I don't understand all this, dude. Something so stupid over something like YouTube views.
Oh, whoa, YouTube view, that's worth more than gold, brother. You don't even look that old. What do you mean? YouTube views is the most important currency there is. People die over that.
What?
People fucking kill each other over that shit daily. This ain't a game, man. What do you mean?
When a man named Joe contacts Woodhaven police...
No, they don't. Do they? I know people are crazy, but it can't be like that frequently, right? I mean, I'm sure it happens, but come on.
Police officers from a local McDonald's in Michigan claiming that his nephew and his friends are stalking him. His nephew is 30-year-old Kenneth Chambers, who runs the YouTube channel Skeeter Gene, which currently has around 2.5 million subscribers and is well known for doing sting operations. Joe tells the officers that Skeeter and his friends have been following him and filming him throughout the day. Over the past several months, Skeeter has amassed millions of views on his channel by posting videos about his uncle. But Skeeter and his friend and collaborator, 25-year-old...
So is it... Oh, let me read that title again.
I exposed my own uncle. So is his uncle caught in one of the pedophile stings, or what's going on here?
About his uncle, but Skeeter and his friend and collaborator, 25-year-old Gideon,
streaming inside squatter's house until he leaves. Is that the uncle then? Is that Joe? So is he a squatter?
Decade or so, he's been financially exploiting and abusing my grandmother, who was also his mother. And before that, he was doing
So they're
the same
related?
thing to his grandmother, which...
And he's a Red Wings fan. You forgot to mention that. He is also a Red Wings fan. Are you kidding me?
I don't know what relevancy that has with anything.
Is my great-grandmother.
Skeeter explains that despite repeated warnings from the family, his Uncle Joe refused to leave his grandmother's house and had been squatting there for months. So, he decided...
I was gonna go over there and kick his ass myself. But then I thought, wait a minute, I have a YouTube channel.
I can get views, yeah, of course.
So I can just expose him on the internet.
This is not exposing people on the internet, but it's a common tactic to like, I can't remember what the name of the person is, but there's like this famous squatter remover who will go and squat with the squatters and just make squatting in the place wherever they're living like an absolute living hell until they decide to leave, which is an ingenious way to get rid of squatters. It's a passive way to get rid of squatters, but like, I don't know. I don't know if there's a better method, like maybe create enough housing that people don't need to squat in private places.
And make some money off of him.
But according...
Okay. How's that going? You're making money off him, but are you actually helping your grandmother?
Good question.
I'm new to this here, but it doesn't seem like it. It seems like it's more about you making money off of your grandmother being exploited than actually getting the fucking problem solved. Am I crazy? That's what it's looking like immediately here.
According to Skeeter, when Joe still refused to vacate the home, he came up with a plan alongside Gideon to solve the problem once and for all. He moved Gideon into his grandmother's house, eventually forcing Joe to leave the property and end up at McDonald's. But
there we go, he evacuated.
The harassment did not stop there. He claimed Skeeter, Gideon, and their film crew continued following and filming him at the restaurant.
That's not chill.
Ultimately provoking him to call the authorities. But one of the officers soon notices an orange sedan following them as they transport Joe to the Woodhaven Police Department, where a friend is supposed to pick him up. Shortly afterward, Skeeter and Gideon arrive at the station with a large group of people, demanding to speak with Joe. By then, Joe was already left for McDonald's again, and when the detective tells them...
Yeah, this feels a little bit excessive. This is no longer getting rid of a squatter. This has definitely crossed the line into something else.
That Joe is not at the station, Gideon mentions filing a missing persons report, arguing that officers had taken Joe away from the house.
Yeah, Joe went missing. You guys stole him.
What?
Where did they take him, JV? I might have JV like go make like missing people. You know Joe?
Yeah, I know Joe.
We're trying to find him. He's hiding from us.
Yeah, he's not in here, I promise.
You promise?
Yes.
You pinky promise?
Yes.
You
I took pictures of him.
Alright, I'm so confused, but he's not in the house either, so what's the point? That's
Yeah.
like the whole goal, right? To get him out of the house? Mission accomplished? What does this do? Now, I don't understand why they're going across town now, looking to file a missing persons report and bother fast food employees trying to locate this guy. I guess, yeah, maybe just to keep farming him.
It's 28 degrees here.
Pinky promise.
Yes, Joe's not in here.
I don't trust her. Is it cool if I check real quick just to make sure? Yeah. I can? I'm gonna just check real quick, okay?
It's around 3 p.m.
I know I'm streaming, but streamers can be so entitled. Like, this just feels so inappropriate. It feels like it's just for clicks and views. Like, I know that's literally the majority point of like streaming, unless you're trying to do like political work and like humanitarian aid, or like Alvea's Sanctuary, they're doing like animal rescues and things like that. But like for stuff like this, it does not feel like this is of any purpose other than to harass somebody at this point.
Now, over 4 hours since this situation first began, and as an officer arrives at the restaurant to speak with Joe again, he has no idea that Skeeter and Gideon are about to bring the storm.
I thought for sure that was Jack Doherty. I was gonna say, what the fuck is he doing there?
This is how I know
like
that I'm old.
Here, but
because it looks like they're hanging out with two kids. It looks like they're hanging out with two kids. Like these two kids here, they look like children to me. I don't know how old they are, but they look like children to me. No offense. I don't know.
Truly don't understand what this is. I really don't get this. If the goal was to get him out, you got him out. Why are we farming him at fucking McDonald's?
Yeah.
This doesn't really seem like it's actually to try and get justice or try and get him out of the house.
They're at his house and they're not doing anything illegal. It's just super annoying. They're trying to get him riled up so they get their YouTube views. We're just trying to find somewhere for Joe to go because they have access to the house. They're allowed to be there, and so is Joe. So we can't make something.
Yeah, squatters fucking suck. I'm all for annoying the shit out of squatters. Do whatever it takes to get them out of the house. I've yapped about squatters so much, bro. I'm not gonna talk your ear off on it for the 100th time, but this is just, it really doesn't feel like it's about that. It genuinely does just feel like it's trying to farm him for views off of it, because there's just no reason to be chasing him around like fucking restaurants and shit. So they got the Modern Warfare 2 UAV online here, and they are tracking Joe down. They are sniffing him out, hunting him down, and they eventually, it all bubbles over in the Thunderdome McDonald's, which elicits a big old question mark for me. I don't fucking get it. It just like items on the top shelf of my kitchen, I don't get it. Like, really, why chase him around? Why fucking follow him around the town here like it's some kind of tailing mission in Assassin's Creed? Like, getting a squatter out is something that I think everyone understands and can get behind. You know, that's a big old pat on the ass moment, because squatters, for some reason, it becomes such a tricky landmine in the legal system where they end up having more tenant rights than you do as the homeowner. And it's so fucking convoluted. It's so messy. It is disgusting.
Yeah.
So I think most people understand.
It's incredibly difficult to get rid of like squatters, because you can get like an eviction injunction, but that doesn't mean that they're actually going to leave and stuff like that. And then you have to hire like bailiffs, I think, or something to try and get people out. And even then, like, if they have had mail delivered to their house, to your house, or anything like that, like if you ever have a guest, like, that's one of the crazy things about Airbnb. I don't know if it works the same way, but if you have like a guest, you could potentially end up with a squatter, right? Because they'll have mail delivered to your house, and that's sort of like proof that they live there somehow. And then therefore you can't just evict them. Like, you can't just kick them out. You have to like go through the courts and all this other stuff. And like, even then, even if you go to the courts, that doesn't mean that the squatter is going to listen. So you might be stuck with somebody for quite some time. I don't really have a problem with people squatting in empty homes and things like that, so long as they're not like being like trying to be occupied by the owner and stuff like that. Like, I don't give a shit about that. If they're just like abandoned places, like, who gives a fuck? But if it's like people's homes where like you're trying to live there and things of that nature, then yeah, that becomes extremely problematic.
Wanting to annoy squatters and do what you can on your own to take care of it, since the system doesn't like to actually do anything about it. So oftentimes it does end up with people taking matters into their own hands to try and solve the issue, which it seems like in the beginning that was the goal, but it's clearly morphed into something else, which is now just making a big spectacle out of it to farm as much money and as many YouTube views out of it.
So I gotta eat yogurt.
And Joe is obviously no peach. He's a real piece of work. This guy, I'm only just now learning about him through these videos, but this guy doesn't really seem like a saint or anything. But even still,
You get some yogurt,
like,
ASMR.
they were in the wrong, chasing him around to like fucking McDonald's and shit, and trying to send like army of children in there to like bypass getting trespass. Like, everything that
I'm not the only one that thought that they were
was
children.
done wrong here.
Those shelters? None really close to here. But he said that his buddy was trying to find somewhere and trying to keep Joe out of the spotlight. So, yeah. Yep.
He'll be out at their house.
Yeah. So, thank you so much for the help. I really
Oh,
appreciate it.
good example. Yeah, the Asian Andy squatter. That's fucking iconic at this point. Yeah, the Asian Andy squatter. That, I think, is that honestly was handled like super well. Like, legitimately, that was handled really well. This is not so far.
Appreciate it.
While Joe has stepped out to run an errand, the officer later learned from the restaurant manager that Gideon and his film crew had returned to the McDonald's multiple times looking for him. The manager told officers that despite being asked to leave and informed them that they could not record on McDonald's private property, they continued live streaming. The group is then seen returning to the police station once again, demanding to see Joe. Believing they may head back to the McDonald's in search of him, the officer returns to the restaurant to keep watch.
And then they did?
Them. Hopefully we can see what we can do about getting them out of there, but we'll see.
And soon, a large group arrives back at McDonald's. But this time, the officers are ready.
What's the problem?
McDonald's doesn't want you guys on the property, so you guys gotta leave.
Is he here?
Doesn't matter where he's at. McDonald's does not want you on the property. You guys have to leave. You're gonna be...
Who's you guys? Can you be more specific?
You.
So they said
them,
these people?
Him, yes. You guys cannot be on the property.
Hey,
or they're gonna arrest you.
Do you guys want some McDonald's? Y'all wanna go inside real quick?
You're gonna be arrested for trespassing if you go in there.
Bro, why? You don't have any, no offense, officer, but like, do you genuinely have nothing better to do? Like,
do you have anything better to do?
Officer, you're actually like supposed to protect and serve.
All right, get off the property. You guys are gonna be arrested for trespassing.
Okay, we'll leave the property, but like, I'm just trying to figure out, do you have anything better to do? Because this is like a...
Yeah, they told you earlier that they don't want you guys on the property, so you guys gotta leave.
Because you've been
probably one of the dumbest moves, one of the dumbest moves is to like argue with a police officer when they told you to leave somewhere, because you can literally just walk a couple of feet and get on like public sidewalk and you're good, and then you can keep arguing with the officer and avoid getting arrested. But I can understand why the cop lost his temper at this point and is just like done with it and doesn't want to deal with it anymore.
Minutes wasting taxpayer dollars.
I'm there for about 5. You guys need to leave. You guys are gonna be arrested for trespassing.
It's crazy how you don't arrest a squatter. That's crazy. Here, let's just stand on the sidewalk.
But the warning has little...
Yeah, if you want to make a statement about squatter and the squatter's rights being egregious, preach. Completely agree. This is just super not productive to that conversation. This is actually just not a good look so far. That's sad, man. Like I said, I like Gideon. I don't really understand what he thought he was doing here.
Effect. Soon Gideon is seen standing on the sidewalk yelling, creating a disturbance, and stopping vehicles attempting to enter McDonald's to patronize the business.
Yeah, that's also not something you can really do.
2 members of the film crew attempting to enter the restaurant with their cameras.
Like, you can advise people against, like, because that's kind of like a review. Like, you can, like, freedom of speech and whatever. You can be like, don't shop at McDonald's, but you can't actually block people from entering an establishment. That's different.
Them to make their move.
Let's see if there's some McJoes in there.
Gotta arrest Joe. Gotta arrest Joe.
Chat, man, is this what you want your tax dollars to go to?
Jesus, this
Cops
is so fucking
camping out
cringe.
at McDonald's to protect a squatter. He's in there? Really? Should we give them the camera? Yo, do me a favor. Be very careful. Just wear this.
I would run off with that shit. I would just run the fuck off and be like, thanks for the $20,000. Goodbye. Like, whatever. It just does not seem worth it to me. It doesn't seem worth it to me to invest in this way. I don't know. Excuse me.
Shut the f up! Bro, you haven't been trespassed.
We're good. What am I?
Just walk inside.
Just to get on my video?
Yeah.
Okay, alright.
But make sure y'all stick together.
Is that backpack like 30 grand?
Oof.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah.
They have not.
The jumping up and down, emoting to the officers about it.
Come back.
Oh no.
Bro, they're really protecting Joe.
And he's recruiting like a bunch of kids to do this.
Officer, never trespass them. You can't trespass somebody.
1212 dispatch. We're gonna have one detained at this point.
Officer, you cannot trespass somebody.
Is he going to, Mitchell?
Here, give me my backpack, my man. This is a violation. You cannot arrest somebody that never went inside and was never trespassed. Ma'am, they are arrested children that never went inside of a McDonald's.
Why are you using children? Why are you using children for this, like, behavior? Like, why are you using children for this exercise? You're the one that put them in this situation by asking them to do this for you. An adult that claims to care about children, what are you doing? Now you're upset at the cops for doing their job? Like, I don't really like cops, but Jesus Christ, like, have some sense. Like, just take the L and move on and do it another day. Like, I think that he was trying to escalate things to this point for the purpose of a video, which makes him extra pathetic because he put children in the way.
dropped, you dumbasses.
Okay.
Call the DA and see how fast that shit gets dropped.
These three?
Watch. Call the DA and see how fast that gets dropped.
He's yelling, so he's being disorderly. Yeah, everybody's looking.
Well, this is absolutely.
What are you arrested for? Disorderly person. You're out here yelling. Disorderly. You're under arrest for being disorderly.
Freedom of speech. You can yell on the sidewalk.
Sitting here causing the scene.
On the sidewalk.
Yep.
So you can't yell? Officer.
Jeepers.
Officer, how fast do you think this is going to get dropped? Do you really think the charge is going to stick? Do you guys really think this is going to stick?
Sure, we have a
do you want to waste your DA's time? I am a multi-millionaire. I promise you. I can take this as far as you want.
Oh.
So fucking what? What the hell is that? What does that have to do with anything? What a gross drop to have. I'm a multi-millionaire, so you know. I was just like, okay, what relevancy does it have to do with anything?
And you will be arrested. This is.
Oh, that's minus 1,000 aura. No.
Yeah.
No, man.
I mean, it was minus 1,000 aura when it came to like exploiting the kids, but this is just
Actually
extra
just dropped the
like
"Do you know
negative
who I am?"
points.
type line. Uh-oh. Once it got to bringing this out in public, it got fucked. I like I said, I can't wrap my head around what he's even thinking. He's just like recruiting a bunch of kids to start going in there into the McDonald's to film. The workers don't want them in there. Even if Joe's in there, like, why can't you just respect that? Like, you're not doing anything to prevent Joe from squatting at this point. You are literally just stalking him and bothering all of the normal employees and people in the McDonald's for Gideon's views. And then he just dropped the "I'm a multi-millionaire" line. I don't know what went so wrong.
Hey, Beckett.
No! Call Jake and have him get my lawyer! Call Jake and get my lawyer! Is this really the route you want to go, officer?
Yep.
Okay. Do you want to waste taxpayer dollars?
Yep.
Officer,
For a second, I thought he was going to say, "I'm going to need your badge and gun. You're fired." Gideon fires the officer.
Your foot in.
I can't even fit in here.
Get your foot in.
Officer, I'm too big.
Put your foot that way. Let's
Officer,
go.
I can't. I'm not trying to be. Here, I'm not resistant, officer. I promise
Let's go.
It is literally my body autonomy. I cannot move. Can you just put my handcuffs in the front?
No.
And it'll make it so much easier.
Turn your body. You have to turn and scoot that way.
Have you guys consulted with the DA?
We don't have a DA.
You don't have a
Oh
district
my
attorney?
god,
No,
this
you
guy
don't
is
have a
such a
district
fucking
attorney.
loser.
Attorneys down here.
What do I say, attorney?
Go. Put your feet in. Let's go.
Like, if this is your first introduction to this person, I would never watch them again, personally. Like, I have no interest in this person anymore, like, whatsoever. Like, I didn't really before, but now it's just like, no thanks.
Go well. That dialogue tree option got exhausted really fast.
Officer, I'm telling you, I can't move.
Harvey Dent. Yeah, let me get Harvey Dent on the horn.
Bro, you pushing me is not gonna do anything. Bro, officer, you're actually hurting me.
Come on.
Officer, I can't move.
Scoot. Yes, you can. Scoot
Okay, can I step out and then slide in?
Yeah, step out and slide in.
Bro, hey, bro.
Set your butt in first.
I sat inside. Yo, call Jake and get my lawyer.
Hey, get him.
So here's something else I don't understand. Skeeter Jean is not even here. So like this isn't even about the squatter anymore. What is going on? He went rogue. This is like a solo side quest. He is just not on camera. Oh, he is? He is still there? Okay.
Some of them try to make sense of the situation.
I haven't seen him in a single one of these clips.
So we got 4? I got 4 right now. This is absurd, dude. Was he arresting him too? Oh, get out and get off the property now.
Yes, sir. I was not a part of this.
Then you better walk away quickly.
Yes, sir. I was just in the car. I'll leave. Hey, Dad, do you mind? Actually, never mind. I'll walk home.
Now you're impeding traffic. Downtown unit, can you light this black SUV up right here for us? Good, he's pulling up and stopping him for us.
Mind yourself.
We were just trying to pick up our friend up.
I would ask if they felt this was worth it, but they 100% did, because they probably made a lot of money off of this by like farming it and shit. Sometimes I genuinely question streaming because I don't want to be a content creator in that regard. Like, I don't want to pull any shit like this, and I hope that I never transform into a person who behaves this kind of way, because I find it kind of despicable.
Okay, we can't stop in the middle of the road.
Okay. So he wasn't here. He just arrived. So he must have heard what happened and then showed up. I am flabbergasted at how many people showed up here from stream sniping Gideon. I don't know if he had like made it like a public thing, like, guys, come on, roll through, and turning it into like, you know, fucking Fire Fest of squatters or something here. But like 50 kids come through here, like it was fucking trunk or treat. There were so many kids that showed up that were getting like recruited by Gideon to like go into the McDonald's, let's go, you know, find Joe, that kind of thing. Where's Waldo? Let's go get him, that kind of shit. And it ends up being like an entire raid wipe. Like the entire raid just gets wiped here. The cops start like dispersing them. A few of them get arrested in addition to Gideon. So now they've got an issue on their hands for showing up and like buying into this and going along with it. It's just such a mess. I get being frustrated with squatters, but this is just not the way, not at all. I mean, yeah, he's not squatting in the McDonald's.
Oopsies. Sorry about that, guys. I just have to do something.
If you guys aren't getting food, get out.
No, we are. You saying what? I'm just kind of confused. Yeah, I was just asking what was going on.
How many people showed up for this?
Yeah.
It's like 50 dudes.
We were staying at the house, and then we just pulled up.
And I gave it to them. They're all still out there.
Oh, it's Joe.
Hang out with him for a little bit. I don't know if they should. What about Steven? Where did he go?
I have no idea where he went. The ones that came up on the property.
Did you ticket him?
I think you got a ticket. I don't know. The ones that came up on the property and were causing disturbance on the property are the ones that went to jail. I don't even know honestly who we have. We got quite a few. So.
All right, thank you.
Yep. If they come back into
What about this black guy over here? He was at the house.
Well,
and the guy with the glasses.
Yeah, I got you. So
he was at the house.
The problem was that they were here.
Yeah, well, Joe was a little mistaken here. It's not because they were at the house. It's because they were trespassed from McDonald's for causing a disturbance, essentially.
And the ones that were causing an issue here is who went with us right now. Because they could have been at the house. They're allowed at the house because someone...
Joe looks like he just crawled out of a time machine, bro. This guy looks like he just left Jumanji.
Not to come on the property here. And they were on the property and they're causing a disturbance.
You're allowed to come on my property.
Joe does seem like a big old asshole, though. I'll tell you what, man. I will tell you what. They should have just taken a page out of the Asian Andy playbook for the right way to handle a squatter.
Am I officially under arrest?
Yes, sir. I guess. Okay. You're for breach of peace is what it sounds like, all right?
All right.
Of peace.
Even though I was on a public...
I think this has been resolved. This is actually kind of boring for me, so I'm going to switch to something else that might be a little bit more interesting. We are going to look at Brian Johnson. The reverse aging mogul discusses regime as he strives for a biological age of 18 years old. This guy is kind of a weirdo, and he recently had an announcement that makes it pretty funny because he spends about $2 million a year on his health, so he says, on trying to be 18 years old. Which, by the way, if you're 18 years old, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be healthy, so I don't know what he was thinking there, but well, let's see.
Right now is the very first time in human history where you can say with a straight face, you may not die.
You believe that?
Oh, there's no question.
It's hard.
I don't believe that. I don't believe that at all. I don't think that that's true at all. I don't think that if you avoid any outside dangers, like that you would survive indefinitely. I don't think that's possible.
Johnson is 46 years old, but no matter his chronological age, he's striving for the biological age of an 18-year-old. His team of 30 doctors utilize all the latest tech. The plan is rigorous. It's actually really hard.
Yeah, it is. And it burns really fast.
At $2 million a year, a life like this is out of reach for almost everyone.
And this is what I take on a daily basis of supplements. It's alphabetized.
What the hell?
And we have a year's supply of everything we do.
It's part of...
That's like his entire meal for an entire day. Like, you'd be full the entire day for eating all of that.
To live forever, which he believes may happen in our lifetime.
And what I've shown is for the very first time, we could potentially think about ourselves improving at the speed of technology.
On this day at his home in Los Angeles, he lets us into his pricey routine and his excitement for the future of the human race.
I'm the first human to opt into an algorithm that takes better care of me than I can myself.
He calls his all-encompassing protocol Project Blue.
We're going to find out that that's not actually true. That's not actually true. We're going to find out shortly that that's not actually true.
Blueprint was born out of trying to fix my own problems, but then taking care of my family, my kids and my parents, my friends.
It's generated a steady churn of shock headlines. He once injected himself with his son's plasma.
I mean, the way that happened is my dad is now 70. One day we were talking on the phone. I said, Dad, also, there's these plasma exchanges people have been doing that have shown some evidence that is potentially helpful for people with cognitive decline. Now, it's still experimental. It's not ironclad yet. But if you want to try it, I'd be more than willing to offer you my plasma. And my son overheard the conversation. He's like, Dad, I'm in. So he did it knowing.
I don't think that's how that went, most likely. I really doubt it.
Insane this all sounds.
The perceptions people have about Blueprint and me are all wrong. They think I live in a cage. They think that I'm somehow deprived of joy.
Accidental, how are you? Welcome in. Welcome from South Boston. How are you? What's going on? Let me give you a shouty. We're learning about Brian Johnston and his quest. I'm giving you a shout out, but I don't remember if you need one. Damn it. Ooh. There we go. Well, I'm well. I hope you are also. I am just chatting. I haven't seen you online, like, at all. And I don't know if you, like, stream what is for in the middle of the night for me or what, but I've been trying to catch you, and I haven't been able to see you. I'm good. I've got soccer tonight, so I get to hang out with people, and that'll be fun and stuff. And then I got some writing to do and a little bit of work, but that should be... I might put off work until tomorrow. We'll see.
I do.
Other than that, I'm good. Glad you're doing well too. What have you been up to? Do you have a good weekend? Did you watch soccer at all?
And you know what? They sound awful to me. Like,
I broke my mic stand essentially.
I would feel miserable for 24 hours.
He wasn't always
I streamed several mornings. Okay, but what time is it for you right now? Because it is like what time zone are you in? I stream several times a week at 10 a.m. I haven't seen you. Because what time zone are you in?
It's rich. Growing up in a modest Mormon household in Utah,
I'm in PST time
zone. He returned from a mission trip to Ecuador and came back with one goal in mind.
The only
Eastern Standard Time, East Coast? Maybe that's why. I'll try to wake up earlier.
I said, okay, I'm going to make a goal and make a whole bunch of money by the age of 30. With money,
let me just double check this too.
Just a sec. More effectively versus having to ask people permission for what they would want to do in the world.
So how did you make it happen?
I just started building companies.
Yeah, I'm following you. I just haven't caught you yet.
For just under $1 billion.
Try to wake up earlier to catch you.
I read that you were really unhappy.
Do you have like specific days that you try to stream?
Into a religion.
It's 7:50 p.m. here. Oh yeah, you're ahead of me by a couple hours. I would definitely be in bed. It's only 5 p.m. here.
And then I got married. I had children. I was doing a startup, and those worlds kind of just combined. So the lack of sleep and the grind on a startup created some depression, which then deepened when I was having an existential crisis with my religion, which then, having problems with my partner.
How did you get yourself out of that?
I will stream tomorrow morning. Okay, I'll try and catch you.
In 1 year's time, I sold my company.
I'm curious to see what you like to talk about stuff.
And I went off to remap my whole existence.
Welcome to the future. Caution may cause loss of age.
As we enter Brian's clinic.
This uses multispectral imaging, and then it generates 10 data points on your skin health.
We see a room full of high-tech, hospital-grade gear, chosen to measure his progress and hopefully help turn back the hands of time. But Brian believes it's not about what you start doing, it's what you stop.
Instead of doing
check out my website.
Positive,
sure.
Stop the negative. So instead of trying to choose a supplement that you want to take, stop going to bed late or stop skipping exercise.
Okay, well, dude, that's not going to help me get any younger. Okay, I age every day. Let's see. What's this say? Hopefully this is not porn. What? Interesting. Have you heard of suicide doors? Get connected. Introduction. This accident should never have happened. The defective reverse door design in the 1949 Mercury automobile, affectionately named suicide doors, was manufactured with no child locks or seatbelts. This defective design remains in the same as the last car of its type rolled off the assembly line in 1967. That was 15 years after my accident in 1952. Oh no! There was no technology or statistics to document these horrible events, so they went unnoticed and were listed as general auto accidents. Hi, True Steel. Welcome in. They did it. They got the Nazi on Main Street. What are you talking about? Which Nazi on Main Street? Also, let me give you a shout out. Just a sec. What Nazi on Main Street? Did I miss an important story? Graham Plattner? What do you mean? How'd they get him? What'd they do to Graham Plattner? What happened? Explain more. What do you mean they got him? Was he assassinated? Because that's what it sounds like. Oh my god. I just didn't want him elected into office. I didn't want him assassinated. Woman came forward. Another one? There have been... Okay, just a second. I'll have to Google this. Because... Another woman came forward? Oh no, she came out... What? 5 hours ago. Exclusive. Woman who dated Graham Plattner says she sexually... Oh no. Exclusive. Woman who dated Graham Plattner says he sexually assaulted her. Uh-oh. A woman who dated Maine U.S. Senate candidate Graham Plattner says he forced her to have sex with him nearly 5 years ago, despite her repeated objections and an allegation Plattner denies. A woman, a 44-year-old Maine resident named Jenny Risaka, I can't say your name, I'm so sorry, detailed the alleged incident to Politico in 3 interviews over the past 2 weeks. Politico also spoke with a man are dated and confided in years after the alleged incident, and reviewed documents including emails between R and the therapist and messages between R and an acquaintance whom she warned against getting involved with Plattner years before he ran for office. Good Christ. I know, the Maine Nazi, yeah. I knew that he was fucking toxic. I knew it. And you know what? All the people who have been backing him, they're just going to be like, oh, these aren't true. Every single woman, every single person who has negative things to say about him are freaking lying. How do you counter this now? What, this person is lying too? Because it's been multiple people who have come forward at this point. R said she had an on and off relationship with Plattner, who is now in the Democratic Senate nominee for Maine, in Maine, for more than 2 years before he entered a rural Maine home uninvited one night. Wait, what? In late 2021, deeply intoxicated, and forced himself on her while she repeatedly told him to stop. She said she cut off contact with him after telling him the encounter was not consensual. I remember him grabbing my pelvis and being really forceful of me, she said. I remember the specific moment where I thought to myself, like, this is no longer my choice. Plattner denied the allegations, obviously, because who wouldn't? These allegations are troubling, serious, and false. Any accusation of non-consensual behavior is categorically untrue. And he said in a statement, like, what person is going to be like, yeah, I totally raped this person? Oh my God. Like, the thing is like, there's so many people that have come forward at this point, it's kind of hard to ignore. I feel like to ignore it is to intentionally like be doing that because you care more about other things than you do about his victims. R previously described reckless and unsettling behavior by Plattner to the New York Times, but says she didn't go public with a specific assault claim because she didn't want to be known as a rape victim. R said she later felt compelled to go public about her experience because the reaction to the Times story was dominated by controversy about another woman, Lindsay Fifield, who alleged Plattner mistreated her and faced attacks because of her ties to the Republican Party. Contacted by Politico, Fifield stood by the allegations she made to the Times and declined to comment further. My part of the story was just a read over, R said in an interview, and the story was Lindsay and the accusation of her being politically motivated. R said she was torn over coming forward in part because she agrees with Plattner politically. One of the reasons I didn't come forward sooner was, yeah, that's honestly like not that surprising. One of the reasons I didn't come forward sooner was the huge moral conflict that I had between supporting him politically but not supporting him as a person. She said, I just want the truth out there. I just want people to have a whole scope of who this person is, of who he is as a person, excuse me. In a statement, the Plattner campaign reiterated his denial and accused critics of trying to drive him from the race. Oh my God. These allegations are very serious, and Graham Plattner vigorously denies them. They are also coached and coordinated by out-of-state establishment operatives. They have no proof of any of this, by the way. They're just pulling this out of their ass. For years, opponents of his campaign, he hasn't been campaigning for years, have thrown everything they can at Graham, calling him a Nazi. He had a Nazi tattoo. He was definitely a Nazi. You're trying to tell me that all of his other people who went with him to get that tattoo throughout the 20 years were never informed and didn't inform him? Like, come on. You can say maybe he didn't know himself, but you're telling me that all of his teammates that got that tattoo with him didn't freaking know? I don't think so. A war criminal and a communist. Also, people actually admit that, yes, he is a war criminal, and I don't care that he's a communist. Like, that's the least concerning things of the things that he does. None of it has been true. Also a lie. And this is no different. It is not a coincidence that this story comes a week before the ballot deadline. Just as the previous false allegations came a week before the primary, Graham began his campaign to fight for a Maine where everyone is treated with dignity and where Mainers are. He can't even treat his fucking wife with goddamn dignity because he cheated on her too. Good Christ. This guy is nothing but a scumbag. And for some reason, if you say that as a leftist, you're like outed and shunned like you're a fucking leper for not falling in line behind this piece of garbage. Mainers are put first, and no amount of desperate smears will stop this movement from seeing that vision. I like what Graham Plattner says that he stands for. I get behind all of that stuff, but I don't think that he is the right person. I don't think that he's a good person, and I don't think that being desperate is a good enough reason to implement him, especially when it can take so long to oust somebody like that. Because who knows who's going to come behind him, and who knows how long it's going to take for somebody else to show up to be willing to take his place. No one cares when he committed crimes against Muslims. Yeah, nobody, like, that's the thing. It's like people, that's the thing that bothers me most about him. People who claim to care about war crimes and wars in the Middle East and all this other, he did 5 tours. He did 5 tours. He bragged about enjoying killing people. He is a war criminal. And there are people out there that I have seen who are like, oh, you know, it's okay. He changed as a person. But this same person doesn't make exception for other people. For some reason, he has, like, these people have such a hard on for Graham Plattner that they're willing to make an exception for literally anything that he does. And it honestly is making me lose respect for these people. Like, it's honestly disgraceful. Like, you claim to have morals and shit like that, but you're willing to let them go because Graham Plattner happens to say the right things. Yet, and throughout all of his history, all of the allegations, everything that he himself has admitted to personally has shown that he has not actually been able to follow through on doing the right things. He made a promise to his wife to be faithful, and he couldn't follow through on that either. What makes you think that when he gets into office, he's going to be any fucking better? No, at best, he's going to be a different version of fucking Fetterman. That's it. some people never change. Yeah, some people just learn how to say the right things. That doesn't mean that they're going to do the right things. Abusive people are really, really good at learning to say the right things, but that doesn't mean that they've actually changed internally, right? Like Graham Plattner might have just been sick and tired of dealing with like maggots and stuff like that. Like good. And even if he did quote unquote change, that doesn't mean that he's a good fit for like office and shit like that. And given like the fact that not even that long ago he was cheating on his freaking wife, and I don't really care that she forgave him or not, like that's irrelevant to me. Like it shows that he has not changed as a person. Like he has not fundamentally changed as a person. I just am not buying it. I feel like I'm being sold piss and being told that it's milk and expected to drink it. And if I don't, then sometime how I'm the bad person, like I'm sorry. I don't trust or believe Graham Plattner is a good person. I don't trust or believe that Graham Plattner is actually going to be able to follow through with what he claims he wants to do. Not because he's going to be impeded by Democrats and stuff like that, but because I think that he's going to end up being more like a Fetterman rather than anybody else. Plattner, an oysterman and a political newcomer when he launched his Senate campaign last August, easily won the Democratic primary last month to face GOP send Susan Collins. Like, I get that Susan Collins is literally a disgusting bag of bones, but in my opinion, Graham Plattner is no better than Susan Collins, just for different reasons. In one of the nations, like, you're upset at Susan Collins for her votes and stuff like that. Graham Plattner literally did 5 fucking tours murdering people on a regular fucking basis. He didn't do it once and then regretted it. He didn't do it twice and regretted it. Not 3 times, not 4 times, 5 fucking times. And it took him a long time to get it to the place where he quote unquote regretted it. Character use to mean something in politics, that no longer seems to be the case. Yeah, and it feels like a lot of people that stood on this concept of having morals and values are just like letting them go, with exception to Graham Plattner. And that also has made me lose respect for these people. Like, either stick by your convictions or stop saying that you actually have them, because you can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't claim to be against people who commit war crimes or people who do awful things and then be like, yeah, but Graham Plattner, he's the best, even though he himself has admitted to doing these things in the past. The only thing that he is denying is the assaults. Susan Collins, in one of the nation's most highly watched Senate races, his remarkable rise has been tainted by controversies, including offensive online comments and allegations of past mistreatment of women. He has not previously been accused of sexual assault. The Iraq and Afghanistan war veteran has linked some of his behavior to mental health struggles. Dude, that's not an excuse. And alcohol abuse. But he says he's changed and has denied previous claims that he was abusive to women. R told Politico she connected with Plattner on a dating app Bumble in 2019 and had consensual relations with him prior to the night he allegedly assaulted her. That night in late 2021, she said she had exchanged text messages with him and told him not to come over, saying she wasn't in the mood for company. Later that evening, she said she realized when she heard a sound on the stairs that he had let himself into her house, which was unlocked. Plattner came up the stairs, R said, to where she was on the couch. He got on top of her and kept grabbing her, she said, while she repeatedly told him to stop and that she wasn't interested. R said she smelled alcohol on his breath and believed that he was almost blackout drunk, because Plattner ignored her protests and continued to grab her after knocking over an antique sewing kit, spilling small needles everywhere. I stopped watching More Perfect Union because of their coverage of him. Yeah, like, I'm on the verge of not paying attention to people that continue to back Graham Plattner after allegation and allegation and allegation. Like, if you're literally trying to tell me that every single woman that's come forward is a liar, like, I'm losing respect for you. Like, I literally am losing respect for you, and I feel like you're a poor source of information if you can't, like, acknowledge that maybe Plattner isn't it. And it's okay. Like, what, we make one mistake out of so many and that somehow is supposed to taint our like understanding of politics? Like, people are gonna come as snakes in the grass, and sometimes we're not gonna be able to see them in time. And then when we do, we need to fucking cut their head off and not let them get into vulnerable positions anymore. We need to not let them get into positions of power. Like, Graham Plattner is not it, and I stand by that. I think that it's really unfortunate because I honestly liked Graham Plattner when he first came out too. But to continue to back Graham Plattner when so many people are just like, he's not it. He's had a Nazi tattoo. He did 5 tours. He did all of this awful stuff. And now, after saying himself, no more accusations or trouble is going to come out, more and more stuff just keeps coming out. And it's not just this, it is relentless. Like, his platform is making excuses like, oh, he's changed and all this other stuff, and it's just like, I really don't care anymore. If only there were signs. I know, right? Like, if only we had 20 years of information about him. Like, if only it wasn't like, if only we didn't have a relentless stacking of controversies that he keeps on seeming to find himself in. Like, after a certain point, you have to kind of realize maybe you're in denial about what's actually going on, and that maybe it's actually a sunk cost fallacy that's keeping you connected to Plattner because you're worried about the backlash you'll experience if you're like, okay, yeah, I made a mistake. Because I think that a lot of people are actually hiding from the backlash that they think that they'll get if they're like, Plattner is unfortunately not it. I know we need to get Susan Collins out, but he's also a war criminal, and now he's an alleged rapist. In addition to having a Nazi tattoo that he only covered up when it was outed in his campaign. And again, if you're trying to tell me that, sure, maybe he didn't know, but you're trying to tell me that like at least 4 other people that went and got the tattoo with him over 20 years, none of them were told. And then none of them, when they were told anybody else who also got the tattoo with them. That's bullshit. I don't believe that for a freaking second. I'm sorry. Anyway. Spilled needles everywhere. I had been telling him these words like, no, don't, she recalled. And the look on his face and realizing what was happening, I just realized, like, I'm in a situation where there's no consent here, she said. R said she tried to separate herself from Plattner by telling him she couldn't be in that room anymore, after which he followed her to the bedroom and had sex with her against her will. She said he also ejaculated inside of her despite her telling him not to, as she was not using birth control at the time. She went to clean herself up, she said, and when she returned, Plattner had fallen asleep. She contemplated waking him up to kick him out, but worried he could hurt someone driving on this in the state he was in. The following morning, she said Plattner tried to put his arm around her and she pushed him away. She said she asked him whether he remembered what happened the previous night. According to R, Plattner said he didn't remember. R said that she told him to leave and never contact her again. R said she waited several weeks until she got her first period to ensure she wasn't pregnant, then sent Plattner a private message on Instagram saying that the encounter was not consensual and she did not want to hear from him ever again. R had no further contact with him after that. She said R said she later deleted all her texts and social media correspondence with Plattner as she tried to move on from the assault, and said she had not been able to recover Instagram messages she'd sent him about the incident. That's fair. Honestly, I do the same thing and have done the same thing. I'm not going to go into detail. The situation was different, obviously, but yeah, like, I've done that. I've been like, fuck this. I don't want reminders. Like, I didn't want a reminder constantly on my phone of the situation that I was put through, and I literally threw my phone in the river to get rid of it because I just did not, like, I was just so like, I need therapy. This is the closest thing I've got. I'm just getting rid of this. In the weeks after the alleged assault, R said she considered going to the police, but struggled with shock and confusion about what happened to her and did not file a police report, which is actually really, really common. Nazis will help us fight the oligarchy. Oh God, I don't really think that's true, True Steel. I mean, they might to their benefit, but as soon as it stops benefiting them, they're going to stop. even as time passed, she said she felt uncomfortable potentially telling a police officer about such a personal experience and feared retaliation from Plattner. At first, she confided only in her therapist, who she continues to see. If you're like, why didn't you go to the cops? Why didn't you come forward? It's because she is going to get so much shit for this. She is going to get called a liar, which she's already been called a liar by the Graham Plattner organization and by Graham Plattner herself and other people whose names I will not mention. Like, she's gonna receive so much hate. She's gonna receive death threats. She's gonna receive like so many questions, and people are gonna call her like endless. And like that level of intensity when you don't want to be involved in politics and things like that, coming forward like this is incredibly difficult. It is extremely difficult. Like, I have somebody that I could come forward about, but I'm scared to. I don't particularly want to, because I know that they have a larger community than I do. And people, by and large, even if they believe me over him, are likely to still protect him, which is so fucking frustrating listening to people protect Graham Plattner, because it's just like, yeah, I've seen this before. I know exactly what this is like. I don't blame this person at all. And frankly, I think that they're actually more credible than Graham Plattner, who has a fucking Nazi tattoo and it actually expects you to believe that he didn't know what it was for 20 fucking years until it came out into the news. Like, come the fuck on. And that's just one of his controversies. Like, come on, he's like a proven liar. He lied to his wife about being faithful. Like, what more do you possibly need? Like, how is Graham Plattner more credible? It blows my mind. Rosito, I think that's how you say her name, showed political recent emails with her therapist in which Rosito explained she was talking to the media about her relationship with Plattner, and she, SA, and the SA/rape using an abbreviation for sexual assault. In the message, Rosito was not ready to go public as and was seeking help corroborating her account in conversations she was having with reporters on conditions of anonymity. Excuse me. Her therapist responded that Rosito shouldn't have to speak publicly about a traumatic incident in order to be believed, without referencing details of any particular incident. The therapist, who Politico agreed not to name at her request, declined to comment when reached on Monday. Yeah, I don't think that would be a good idea. Like, here's the thing, is like, there could be so many more incidents and so many more people that haven't come forward because they don't want to deal with like the onslaught of like insane amounts of garbage that this poor woman is now going to have to deal with. Rosito also shares details about the alleged assault to the man she dated after Plattner, who she began dating in 2022. The man, who was granted anonymity, out of concern for his personal privacy, told Politico that Rosito had told him in bits and pieces about a bad experience with Plattner before confiding the full details of what happened in 2023. So is this guy lying too? His account of what Rosito told him about the incident matched what Rosito told Politico. Rosito shared with Politico a series of private Facebook messages she exchanged with the acquaintance in 2023, about a year and a half after the alleged assault, and well before Plattner launched his political career, in which she cautioned the acquaintance against getting involved with Plattner. And in the message, Rosito said she had ended up in a bad situation with him, describing Plattner as consensually careless and saying he doesn't listen to you when drunk. Rosito reached by Politico. The acquaintance said she received the message but declined to comment. Politico granted her anonymity at her request and to protect her privacy in her main community. Here are the text messages. I saw your post about oysters the other day. I feel morally obligated to warn you if you were anything more than just friends with Graham. But if you're not, then I'll just shut up for now and give you the scoop sometime. LOL. I've done this too, but in a different way. Because I was concerned about running into a certain person. I would be like, I don't care if you're friends with this person. Obviously I did. But like, if you're friends with this person, I can't be around them and I didn't want to elaborate more than that. So if you can please just let me know, I'd like to avoid them, like, you know, and things of that nature. So this isn't really out of pocket for me either. Like, this doesn't seem unusual. Just friends, would love the scoop. Is he still engaged? I was working on fixing up a friend. Oh, I have no idea. With who? Oh, girl, I think her name is, and then it continues. Politico also spoke with a friend Rosito had told about the alleged assault last summer, shortly after Plattner launched his campaign. The friend, to whom Politico granted anonymity due to fear of social and professional backlash, recalled Rosito telling her about the incident, including that Plattner had been very drunk and wouldn't take no for an answer. Rosito said she was contacted by the New York Times in the spring and shared off the record that Plattner had assaulted her. She told the Times that she had some positive memories of her relationship with Plattner, but thought he did not respect women and had cut off contact with him after an incident in 2021, when Plattner had come over drunk. But the Times article stated that Rosito declined to elaborate about what happened, only described his behavior as reckless and unsettling. A spokesperson for the Times declined to comment. After the publication of the Times report, Rosito connected with Cheney Hunt, a progressive Democrat lawyer who founded the nonprofit Reckoning Action, which launched earlier this year to fight misogyny. Hunt, who had endorsed Plattner last fall but renounced her support for him after the Times article, previously supported women who came forward with the assault allegations from against former Rep. Eric Swalwell, Democratic California, earlier this year, prompting him to drop out of the California gubernatorial primary and resign from Congress. NBC News previously reported that Hunt was working with multiple women who had past relationship with Plattner. Hunt connected Politico with Rosito. Reckoning Action exists to confront misogyny in American life in all forms and manifestations, including in bad actors being elected to positions of power, Hunt said. We became aware of allegations before ever being connected with Jenny, and have been in contact with multiple women with really troubling allegations. And it just became clear that this is someone who's not fit to hold public office. Yeah. I have to let the dogs out. It was enjoyable dropping your stream. Take care. Thank you, Accident. I'll try and catch you tomorrow morning. Everybody else, go check out Accident Waiting to Happen. I hope you have a good evening. I have to hop off soon, too. I'm just going to finish this article and then I got to run to soccer. After the Times report last month, Plattner had said that allegations of physical misconduct were simply not true, and his ally seized on Fifield's conservative political affiliations to suggest that her allegations against him in the Times article were politically motivated. What about now? This person that's coming forward apparently agrees with Plattner, so what's the excuse now? I don't know, he just didn't do it? Come on. On MS Now last month, after the New York Times report, Plattner denied claims that he had physically mistreated women. Anything alleging physicality, anything alleging that I knew that what my tattoo was, these are the statements of somebody who is politically motivated. That is the weakest fucking argument ever. Okay, that is the weakest fucking argument ever. Because me not liking him because he has a tattoo and not wanting him in office is arguably politically motivated too. But he still had the Nazi tattoo. That doesn't mean that he didn't know. It just means that, like, my reasoning for not wanting him in office because he is trying to be a politician by nature is politically fucking motivated. He told MS Now, alluding to unrelated allegations about a tattoo resembling a Nazi symbol. Plattner had the tattoo resembling a Nazi symbol, it was a Nazi tattoo, covered up last fall and said he had not known what the symbol meant. Rosito said she was bothered by Plattner's public denial that he had been physical towards women. I know that he is capable of putting his hands on a woman, she said, so I don't believe that to be the truth. Me frickin' either. I don't believe Plattner. There are too many allegations against him. Nazi tattoo. 5 tours, bragging about liking killing people, like so many things, and cheating on his wife, now like assaulting multiple people, like multiple women, and now sexual assault allegations. Like, how much is it gonna take? And I don't even think that this will do anything, because the people who are riding and dying for him, they simply do not care about other people's concerns or protests. They just care that he's saying the right things, that he claims that he's gonna do the right things, and that's the only thing that they're focused on. And they will literally put blinders on to everything else, and it is fucking disgraceful. You are a disgraceful person if you continue to back Graham Plattner, quite frankly. All right, I have to go. I have to run. It has gone so much further than I thought it was going to. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. It is hot. We are going to go to, let's see. We're going to go to 27 seconds. Oh God. 27-second club. We're going to raid this person. They are also talking about politics. They're cool peoples. I have to raid and run. Thank you so much for everybody for sticking around. I greatly appreciate it. My name is Wax Philosophical. I like to wax the philosophical. Whoops. There we go. Let's see, will it work? Yay, it's working. But yeah, I hope everybody has a wonderful evening. I have to run. I will be back Wednesday. I will see all of you then. We will hopefully be able to play Meccha Chameleon then, but I really have to run, so I gotta make this super quick. I'll see y'all later. Thank you so much. Screw Graham Plattner. He is a creep and an awful person. I do not care. If you back him, then I find you less respectable as a human being. And quite frankly, I think that you're lying to your audience to say that what all these every single allegation is a lie. Anyways, thank you so much. Have a wonderful day, guys, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.